Hello, guys, and welcome. Oh, let me get adjusted. Welcome to another episode of Chai with Rai. You are on episode 9, and I am Rai. Hope you are doing well. Hope you're having a great Thursday, and hope you've had a great rest of the week. I myself didn't have a very wonderful week. I ended up hurting my foot, but I am here. And we will get started on today's guest. Today's guest is Saran Kohli ji. Saran Kohli and I met through the medium of dance. And I'm just going to do a little background on Saran. Saran, I can see you've joined. By the way, this is going to be a hefty introduction to Saran. I've got all my notes here. So, for those of you who do not know, Saran is a fashion designer, dancer and choreographer based in London. He's the owner and founder of Saran Kohli, his label. His career started in fashion and he graduated from London College of Fashion in 2008. He worked as a PR and marketing assistant for the Japanese designer Michiko Koshino. I hopefully have pronounced that correct. And then he went on to sales and worked a little bit in Hugo Boss. And then he created his line and premiered it in New York, if I'm correct. I don't know if that was during Fashion Week, so we'll find out in regards to that. Then he went on to create several collections such as Palm, I Am Kohli, Savoy, and recently launching his 2 ventures, which we're going to go on to talk about as well, with singer V Kapoor and a Vitiligo mask with artist Mira Abad. He's done uniforms for the Bloomsbury Hotel St. James Court in 2016. He created his outlet. He does bespoke appointments. Mate, I am going on. His works has been featured on GQ, Esquire, Asian Wealth, Kush Magazine, BBC, Asian Wedding, MTV, and more. Some of the people who have worn his work have been Jay Sean, Sachin Tendulkar, Juggy D, Mumsy Strangers, Simon Webb, and so many more. He has won countless awards, 2 of the most prestigious ones being Best Newcomer in Fashion Design at the International Awards in 2011. An outstanding award for concept and choreography at BDC in New York. His dance journey includes touring with Yo-Yo Honey Singh, BDC program. He's been a part of Company 68 when I was a part of Company 68, so I'm really excited to talk about that. 201 Dance and Snatch. We're going to get Saran on here and get this started, but let's welcome Saran. Saran, let's get you on. Hopefully I've done you justice. Let's do this. Saran, I've just sent you a request. Hopefully you accept it. Hopefully. Hello!
Yo! Hello!
How are you?
I've got my chai, by the way, so...
I got a matcha as well.
Well, just to let you know, I've got my chai and I've got my chappal, so, you know how it is, isn't it? Work from home vibes.
I know. How you been?
I am very good. That was quite an introduction. I was getting goosebumps just the way you were describing. I felt like I was an awards evening and it's about to pop up in a curtain.
We're gonna get onto that, but let me just pin this and write you on here. I want to ask you firstly, how was your week? How was everything? What you've been doing? What you've been up to?
It's one of those. Wait.
Before we start, how's Gabber and how's Auntie?
Mom's, well, she's playing Ludo. She's addicted to Ludo. we have this thing at home. After 6 o'clock, it's just like this WhatsApp group just goes pinging who's available. And it's just like 6 to 9, it's just Ludo time. And I think it's really good. I love Ludo. I grew up on Ludo. And then since it came as an app, through lockdown, it's just become like a religious thing. Like, forget Diwali, forget Aarti Puja. Like, just Ludo would be it. So, she's well. She's just becoming a pro. It's a new career for her. So, Gabber is really well, chilling. He's just been walking around, following me. Like, what am I doing? Because every time as soon as I go, he loves chai, by the way. He loves tea and
biscuits.
Does he really? He's a proper British and a proper Desi Kutta. So,
can they have tea? Can dogs have tea?
Well, when he was like a pup, he would sip on anything I give him. But he was like, he would sip on tea. But it's the other thing. It's the biscuits. Yeah. It's sugary. So every time he sees me make chai, he then starts barking and he points at the cabinet where the biscuits are. And I'm kind of, but they're good. Thank you. How's everyone at home, your side?
Yeah, everything's good. Can't complain. It's been raining, so it's been an interesting, I think, weather, and I hurt my foot, which I was just saying. But
I saw. How's the foot? How's the foot G going?
It's better. It's basically because I don't know about you. I'm a hoarder, so I keep like old shoes from like 4 years ago, and the sole is damaged. But I wore them
and like I literally was limping like this the entire rest of the day, and now it's swollen. So I paid the price.
Oh man, but at least you're looking good with the tash. So
I knew you were gonna say that. I was like, it's because I'm trying to copy you. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how.
I'm right now as what do you call beard gang or wavy hashtag you call throw at me, but I'm oiled up and moisturized here. But it's it's winter time, hibernate. Yeah,
I feel like you and I have swapped because like I had a beard. And now you have a beard, and you had a stash, and now I have a stash instead of you.
I remember meeting you first time, and I think it was you. You were full on. I think I remember. It was, was it? Or was it?
Wait, we met initially at Company 68 back in like 2012 or 2013. I don't remember.
Were we at the auditions?
We were at the auditions,
but we didn't know each other as well. We did after, right?
Yeah. I remember speaking to you properly at the Olivia Awards. And I think we spoke a couple of times in Company 68 rehearsal when like Ola Papior, I think she was choreographing. And she was like, guys, I want like a count of like 8, like freestyle, like you pop up and you pop up and you pop. And she was like, what different styles have you got? And I was like, well, I've got a little bit like Indian. And then I remember you were like, well, I'm Asian. I can do Bhangra, which is basically like this. And I was like, I remember just us freestyling and like learning bits of choreo and things like that. I think that's how we met. And I had long hair back then and no beard. And you used to come with like a stash and a hat all the time.
Yeah, I think I had a dancing platform right here. So it's just so good times actually. Yeah, what was it 4 or 5 years? 4 years ago, I think. 4 years ago.
I think it's a long time ago. Good
time.
The rites of passage, I think, like Company 68, that, is. I want to ask you, I just said all those things about you, and I was researching you this entire week. And I just said to my partner as well, which I was like, I know Saran as a dancer, and I just know you as this, like, laid-back guy. But now, like, literally looking at the plethora of work that you have done, how does it make you feel? Do you sometimes, like, do a pinch me moment, and you're just like,
no, I'm completely the opposite, actually.
Really?
I'm laid back in my body language. It's probably because I've just got a bit maturer. If you met me early 20s, I'll be like a Power Ranger and changing colors all the time. But no, I don't know. I'm always in an uncomfortable mode. I feel like I haven't done enough. I just feel like I haven't. And also a lot of, and you're absolutely right. I think I don't shout too much about myself in a sense is that I wish I could sit down and create my website as such that where I don't have to explain. I was like, just here you go. Just check me out. But I think it's one of those things where, because I'm transitioned from pre-Facebook, Instagram era, and I think it's one of those things where if I was born Generation Z, I think I could just shout constantly. But I'm a first batch of millennials. I'm the experiment. So it's one of those things where, but it's, I think that's what I am. I'm an uncomfortable soul where I feel no, keep doing, and then just see what happens.
Well, I think we've worked like I have no clue. By the way, are you reading some of the comments? I have no clue what's happening. Thanks.
Ray looks like Abhishek Bachchan in disguise. Very cool, man. That's my brother-in-law, by the way, in India. He's locked in New Delhi.
Damn. We're gonna get onto like the social media and everything like that. I think the one thing I want to say is, and I'll pull up a picture in a second. I was just going through your page and going through like massive amounts of work that you've done. And I think the one thing that I would say is that stands out to me and that really hits home to me. And partially I'm envious of, I just want to say, is the strong connection you have, to your mother, the family and special connection that you have with your sister. You talk about your grandfather a lot. When he says like Bandaban, and just I think to the culture just in general. And I didn't know of your mother's history as much, which I'm just going to put up a picture of. For those of you who do not know, this is Saran's mother.
Oh wow. Oh, that's a trip from Pakistan.
You guys have been to Pakistan?
Well, I'll tell you a story about this picture. It's something pending for me, but my mum's fulfilled it. So my grandparents are from pre-partition Pakistan, Mangwal and Chakwal region. That's from my mother's side, and my great grandfathers from that side built a school
for children, young children, and as a legacy for where
Yeah.
they were from. And that school still stands today. And she had gone to visit, and that's the darwaza from the house that used to be my grandmother's. And next door to that, a couple of rows down, is the entrance of the back entrance to the school.
Wow.
So that was a trip that she had made. I don't know if I was born then or not, but yeah, it's one of those trips early in her heyday. She had gone just when she was married, and she made a trip to pay homage to the town my grandparents are from. And this is the only picture I have of any one of us to go to Pakistan and see this. So this is holds dear to me because I feel this is a pending trip for me to go from where I think where my you know the journey of my lineage as you presented, yeah, my
Yeah.
lineage, my roots.
Well, I think like I've been longing to go to India because I have been kind of like denied twice. Because I hold I think like my mom made it for me. It was a long time ago. It's like a Pakistani visa.
Yeah,
But their family is from Punjab. So they always
right.
talk about that. And I think I'll take you a trip on like my side, you take me a trip on your side. Let's do
Oh,
that.
oh, 100%. I want to cross the Vaga border and just walk and then get there. And because
Yeah,
that's,
let's do it.
I think that's the quickest route for me to go from Lahore and then down whatever.
Yeah.
But it would be an absolute honor to just travel and see Pakistan from grassroots. Yeah,
It really is beautiful. I think like it's the same with India. I think regardless of the politics and things that are said,
yeah,
it really is a beautiful space. I think both sides is. But yeah, going back to the relationship that you have with your mother, I just want you to describe like just a little bit of it. It's really tangible. Just like I can see. By the way, I didn't. Apologies if I'm bringing it up. Like, and if it's a sensitive, I didn't read anything about your father.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, just talk to me about like your family dynamics and situation and your close relationship with
Yeah,
them, you
so
know?
basically I come from a single family. So that's one half of the story in terms of I'm so close to my mom. And also I've been brought up half in India and half here. So I was born
Yeah,
here, age 2, then I went back to India and lived with my grandparents. And I came back when I was just over 10, and I just started my high school, my secondary school, year 7. So that's why my language and my values are very intact with me from thanks to my grandparents. And that's why I'm so close to my grandfather, because he's the one actually been my real father. My father wasn't really active, and hence the reason why when my mom and dad split, she made the decision of sending us to my grandparents. And that's her journey where it starts, because she decided to build a house, start a business, and she had
wow.
nothing, and she decided, I'm going to start a fashion business, and I'm going to promise that the only time my children will come back is when I've got my first house, and they would come. So it's like any, there'd be a Bollywood film, "Main wada karti hoon, mere bacche wapas." So it's like that. So it's one of the things where I've grown up without my mum being there all the time. So I value the time that I'm with her. And because the nature of the business that I've gone into and the time that I've spent, I've always been around, and she's an inspiration. I feel very blessed to have a role model in house and just a mentor, just to be around to speak to someone that is very, very real and hands-on. And I feel me and my mom have a best friend relationship. You'll see my friends rather hang out with her than me. So that's who she is. She's very chilled. So, and I think it's amazing. It's an amazing position to be in, because you feel like you have the comfort, and there's no barrier as such. There's no sort of, from my upbringing, it's been very much like very much DNA South,
Yeah,
Indian. But then suddenly it's like very liberal. Like my mom's like, do what you want, be who you want, जी ले अपनी जिंदगी types, like, there's no parda, like parda just floating away, and you're like, this river is flowing and this park is
yeah.
being built. So it's like, yeah, it's like dramatic from one extreme to another. But yeah, so she's my golden star that is always shining. She's probably listening back there. I'm thinking I'm just doing makkan marring. So yeah, so
No, it really was apparent, and I think like didn't know that all three of you are within fashion, which I'm gonna go on
yeah,
to. But I just researching on your mother, and correct me if I'm wrong. She's I think one of the first pioneers of British fashion, and she kind of like pioneered this sort of way of luxury Asian fashion. And she created her boutique, which is Khoobsurat, in 1983, which was
mm,
in Green Street. And she's dressed the likes of like Theresa May, Prince Andrew, Bollywood stars such as Sushmita Sen, Sonali Bandre, Amrita Arora Khan, and so much. But I thoroughly, and I started researching on her as well. And this brings me on to my next question. One of the things that she talks about predominantly in a lot of her YouTube videos, which she says like she, when she didn't have a boutique or any sort of platform, she would go to people's houses and she would have things in the back of her car. And like she would go to these high society sort of things, present her work style, and then, you know, people approached her after the way they saw that she dressed. I just want to know, how did it feel? Were you a part of that, or was the shop already made when you kind of like grew up? And how did it feel growing up in that sort of fashion era of like late 80s, early 90s?
So I have a bit of, I've seen from both sides in a sense, and I
Yeah.
explain this in such a way is that being brought up, so my mom started retail in 85. She started business she started fashion in 1978.
Wow.
79 or something. No, yeah, 80, round about 79, 80.
Yeah.
But it was called Marvish. It was called a different brand. And she was in a position where she was actually supplying to brands like, you've had Dumnies, you've had other brands. So she was actually designing for a lot of houses that were there, but these weren't designer labels. And then suddenly when life struck hard and she wanted to be independent, it was a case of literally building the business piece by piece, and she would travel. And the thing was, it's very rare for any brand or any designer to be in a position of that. She wanted to be in a position where she wanted to be very creative, design the product. So it was a family unit. My grandfather invested, and at those times gave her 25,000 rupees to start her business, and said, I want this money back into, because my grandfather's he's a lieutenant colonel from the army. So he was like, 6 months ROI, you got to get this done. And my mom, being an economics student, she was very tuned. She was very forward thinking. She was like, fine, you're going to give me a deadline, I'll probably meet. So she set up a unit in the house where I grew up, and it was an in-house thing where my Masi was involved, my grandfather, it was in-house crafts. So everything was designed at source, made at source, and she used to fly, fill the suitcase, go back, door to door, she'll go and sell and build a business. It was like a car, her, and houses. That's literally what it was back then. There wasn't really a street, what we call today. By the time she opened retail, there was like Marks and Spencers and Debenhams next to her, and Greg's and stuff. So it's not what it was. She was in Plastic Grove, which is off Green Street, then suddenly came on Green Street. So it's a very organic, it's the beginning of the first generation of South Asian designers where literally there was no speck of or silhouette of, except what we see today is history pages of 60s of immigrants landing, and we see we see those chudidars and trainers. That's literally what it was, but it evolved because it was very internal, and if that movement didn't start then, we wouldn't have both what we have today. So like any cultural progress, this is the beginning of what it is, and she's part of that. My exposure, I used to see her for the very limited time she would come, and there would be a time when I don't have much memory at the beginning, but it was a case where she'll fly down 4 times in a month, back and forth. And she would, she would basically come, sit. My time with her is when spending time her working, and I was with her and with the family, and I would be with her and stuff. And and then my summer trips to London, I would see her at work. So this is how I grew up, exposed with what she did here, what happened there. So this is how I saw her grow, but it didn't click to me till I was much in my teenage years of how much of the picture was already built for me to understand. Wow, like I can now understand this as a much of a kiddle, part of a kiddlehood, you'd say.
Did you? So you have a dance passion, which clearly I've experienced, and that has brought us together. But what I want to ask is, did you and your sister, obviously you can't speak for that because both of you are in fashion, did you kind of feel a pressure or a sort of, I don't know, a sort of urgency to go into fashion?
No. Well, no, on the contrary, we both are, it's a decision we consciously made. My sister studied textile management at UMIST, Manchester, then did MSc at Queen's, moved to New York because she's what we call childhood love, and got married really young, like 22. and basically moved to New York, and then suddenly called mom and said, I want to get into this business. Just like no influence, and just decided to drop her IT job and just get into this. And that was it. That was her, because we're 7 years apart, so she was way ahead of time for that time.
Yeah.
So she decided to do that. My journey was different because I think I was the more creative person and a very much more an entrepreneurial person, where I'll be a hustler at school and a dance life or outside of school. And then I decided to study fashion at university. And my transition was very much consciously made because I had my interest and I wanted to understand the business of fashion. It wasn't much designing at that time. It was just I was very fascinated about fashion and I wanted to understand the business. And I think because I was exposed, but it wasn't necessarily like mom expected me to be in the shop or anything. It's just because that was a way to spend time and bond with your family. So that's the key difference between me and my sisters, that we both, though I feel I wanted to be an actor, period. I wanted to be an actor when I was young. That was me.
I feel like you still can be. I seriously, every time we've been on set, you have such a magnetizing, charismatic sort of personality that I really think that one day I look forward to working with you in a piece of like film, because I think I really believe that you have it. You have like such a, I don't know, one of those like old school, Rishi Kapoor sort of like, about you.
Wow. That's the first time I've been compared to a legend like that. I grew up with a completely different mindset. I wanted to be the slow-mo guy. I wanted every shot of me to be in slow-mo. So no, yeah, I really wanted to. For me, I don't know, like dance was my first love. Dance is my first love. And it was one of those things where I don't know what it is, but my family says this. I had a rhythm the time that I popped out into this world, because literally, like it was Dhoom Machale literally from the get-go, because at the age of 4 or 5, I would just dance. Music was on, I'll move. Yeah. And I'm talking about the era growing up in Delhi, 90s nostalgic stuff, a lot of it which is in trend right now, like that whole Parle-G thing. That was what I grew up in. It was like thumbs up limca, and Parle-G was my breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it's that time when, we only had a TV where like I had a little screw where you basically have 5 buttons and you tune it. So MTV was the only universal commercial channel available. So I was exposed to Michael Jackson, Motown, James Brown, and then suddenly you had the A.R. Rahman, Prabhu Deva era. So by the age of 6, I was moonwalking. I knew how to moonwalk, slide, and I used to just dance in the living room, and everyone used to just watch on the side and just basically, I used to get invited to birthday parties of random friends just because I could dance. I was that dude with a turban. I used to have a turban back then. So I was that dude who was be the special act for every kid, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll come, man. I was hustling back then. I was like, yeah, man, free food, man. So yeah, it was one of those things, and it didn't become a a hobby / semi-career, or not until I was 14, when my mum pushed me towards an audition, and that's what happened. What
was the audition?
Oh man! So I don't know if you remember Asian Wedding Exhibition.
Yeah.
It used to take place. So there was a casting call for that. For when I turned up, I realized it was for models. It wasn't for dance. And I walked in, and everyone is like, 6 foot. I mean, think about me back then. I was already semi-tiny from what I'm now.
How old are you at this point?
I was 14. I was 14, and I walked in, and I felt so nervous. I kid you not, I was so nervous that I could physically see the heart come out of my body, like literally. And it was just a very Bollywood moment where it was like a Hindi serial where everything was a flash, everything was like a repeat. So everyone gave me a stare. I will see it 5 times, and I had to really like unplug myself. And this was a casting call with choreographer Shazi and Samina, who started what you would know today as signature dance. Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson pair that did Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I was walking into this Disney club, because there was a lot of talent in the room. There was Madhu, there was Suleiman, there was Jay Sean. Like younger days, he was a model. He used to do ramp walking. There was Mutz. There was loads of people that you recognize as household names much later. But this is when they were in the university days, trying to be cool and be like ripped jeans and chains and stuff. And this is me just be kind of like curtains. And I'm like, yeah, I want to dance. I don't know how to walk. So my turn came. I just walked up, and everyone went silent, because that's what everyone was doing. I walked up, but when I walked up and I said, "Oh, hi, you're young and stuff, and what's your age and name?" And I said, "Yeah, my name is Saran. I've got, but I want to dance. I haven't come for a modeling." She goes, "Oh, you like to dance?" I was like, "Okay, so show us." I was like, "Music, please." I was like, what like someone. So, and Madhu being Madhu, he's a joker. He will he'll create everything into a funny moment. He's like, "So you like to dance, eh? Yeah, this is that. I'll show you." He's like this big Sardarji just doing this half the time, and I'm like making me more nervous. So I said, "Do you have anything with you?" So I had a CD and I had Tal. So in
What
Tal,
they are.
yeah. Yeah, so the Tal remix song. So Tal se Tal,
Oh,
but the
that's a
remix,
good
yeah.
one. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
so I was dancing to that time, and Dil Se had come out, and there's that era of that whole thing. And so she goes, "Okay, play." So press play, came on. I didn't dance for the first 30 seconds because I was just frozen.
Were you
Boom,
just
when
doing
it,
like?
yeah, no, I was doing nothing. I was just
Are you?
standing still. It was embarrassing because it's like, what is this guy wasting our time for? And all these like good-looking people are all around me, and I'm just really nervous because I've never been put. Okay, confidence was different when you're with your friends and you're in your birthday parties, but this is
But
like pro. Just closed my eyes. I went for it. I did everything, and the music stopped. And I saw everyone's jaw just drop and stare at me. And it was like a Hindi serial again, like suspense. And she just went, "You're hired. You're gonna have a segment of your own. I want you in the show, and I'm gonna get
bloody
you two."
hell.
And then she looked at these two young kids who had come in to dance after me, said, "I
Yeah.
don't know how good you are, but you're gonna have to dance behind him and make sure he's in the front." I was like, "Okay." So my first gig was my solo performance in between fashion show, 3 times a day for 3 days straight.
Did you get paid?
Yes,
Oh, thank
I
God.
paid very small amount, very
I
small
mean, at
amount.
least you got paid. That's
I got
amazing.
paid 25 quid. For me, that was
That was making a
that was
grade back in the day.
yeah,
That
man.
age.
I got that and I bought my first hip hop CD. I bought my Public Enemy CD that came out that time, and I just like, yeah, this is it, hip hop. Because I was a hip hop head, and then
Yeah.
Bollywood was a little mixture, but it was like a hip hop head. So that was my beginning, and I got signed to them and performed with them, and then I pretty much became their core member, and later on performed with all the Bollywood stars that came in and Wembley. So we used to be part of their rota. And then after that, I joined another dance group called Independent Dance, which is another Bollywood group, and had an amazing time touring with stuff. But then
Yeah.
I transitioned to street because that's where my heart was. And then I launched my own company at age
Snatch.
17 called Snatch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the Snatch was basically Saran dash
And
nuts.
Nach, which is in Hindi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
I
had
did
that
that.
thing.
Don't you worry. I did that.
So that's what it was, and then because I had four of the members, I took the dash out, and I thought, yeah, it sounds Snatch, yeah, very, yeah. So that was it. But it was like any other hip hop crew, like a boy band look, and then start battling and performing and things like that. And yeah, I used to, yeah, I got caught, almost expelled from school for soliciting a dance contract in a business class. And then yeah, so it was like I was always selling something. So this was one of the things. So yeah,
Dude, you're
so.
always hustling. Always.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was DJing at the same time when I was 15. I picked up DJing at the same time. So I was doing like these small birthday parties. I used to sell CDs at school. So I had these two rappers in my crew and we used to make music and then basically used to sell the CDs for 5 quid. And then I used to bootleg Blockbuster was the time, so I used to bootleg video games. I used to sell them in school and make extra cash on the side. And I sold stationery as well. So that was one thing. But yeah. Yeah, man. I just didn't make it to the Sun News. That's the only difference. What are those news like? Brown boy makes money selling stationery. So it didn't happen. So
Bloody
yeah.
hell. Bloody hell. Wait, so I am now intrigued to ask you the next question, which is you have this such a urbanized, I feel, or such a raw dance background and performance background and hustling background. How did you and your mother end up going into the luxury fashion industry? Like, how did you come to design like suits and things like that? Because when I think of hip hop, when I think of jazz, and when I think of like street and things like that, I'm not thinking tailored suits. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking any of that. And how is it that you, when you were like, okay, I'm going to create my own label and things like that, and when you did the whole New York thing, how did you not go into it, create a collection? And how comes you still haven't created a dance collection?
In fact, I have, but
Oh,
it
have you?
hasn't. I have, but not for myself. For dance companies, yes. But
Ah,
but it's So I think bespoke tailoring came with grace, with a little bit of more maturity, because I love anything which was handmade. I was so engrossed in what seeing my mum make pieces which were, I would say, it's been a very sort of luxury format because she's never compromised in quality and been very hands-on. So I kind of was exposed to a very fine craftsmanship, be it embroidery, be it tailoring or couture. I was working with masters, cutters, and I always saw hands-on how they would make it. There was a very tedious work and a lot of I still feel today's age we don't appreciate how much actually goes into making that one garment.
Yeah.
That was what it was. But then that's not how I started. That's eventually. But before that, when I had my dance crew at the same time, I used to do styling. And when I was at university studying fashion business management, I took styling course, illustration course, and also I was involved with working with musicians. And I was working with them and choreographing stuff for them for tours or anything. But also at the same time, my first break came with Mumsy Stranger. Me and Mumsy go way back, like literally he was actually part of Snatch and I was part of his music. And
Really?
yeah, it was one of those things where we first kind of, I used to, his music used to come out way back then, early 2000s. I used to
Yeah.
choreograph all the stuff for him. But then he said to me, would you style me? I said, sure. And then it kind of, the relationship moved forward where in a sense is that when I took a sabbatical, not a sabbatical, but it's like a journey. Like I
Just time
finished,
out.
I graduated. I decided to go to India. I wanted to do some charity work, so I taught some dance in an orphanage, and at the same time, I worked in a factory. I just wanted to be alone to grasp exactly what I want to do. And Mumsy was like, "Listen, I know you're learning, but if you want to experiment, would you like to create a collection for me?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I was honored. Like, you want me to actually create something for him? So I created this first collection. I sent it to the store. My mum called me like just melodramatic crying, like, "Beta, it's not Chaka." I'm like, "You did so well. I love it. Like your idea." And it was completely street. It was these gilets with like detachable hoods and jackets. At that time, the Swarovski thing was quite in, so I was influenced by that. To kind of create some like velvet hoodies. Did really like a hip hop element kind of collection. It wasn't for him. It wasn't for me. He
Yeah.
had worn it, done a photo shoot. I kind of had his first portfolio, whatever you call it. And those pieces, he said, listen, there's a collaboration. Put in the store if you get something great. And I put some pieces into the shop. And next thing you know, is like a few days later, I got an order, and
Yeah.
that was kicked off this whole thing that I should go involved more into it. That was my confidence thing, because I
Right.
think the expectation was, if I just flip into this, in a sense, is that okay? There's a platform, and I just flip into it and just replace. It wasn't that. It was like I have to earn myself a position in a space, but also have a personality. I have my own voice. That was the journey behind it, in a sense, to keep going. And from there led to another musician and to another musician. So I didn't launch formally till 2016, but from 2010, those 6 years, I was designing collections. I was designing personalized collections for other people, for musicians and stuff. And that's where a lot of collaborations like Jay Sean come in, designing for him, for
Wait, I've got that
JLS.
picture, which is this one.
Wow, how do you do this? Like
Oh,
two
it's
in
new
one.
features. You're gonna be a new features ad today.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
oh
Oh yeah,
wow.
today's
Damn,
experimentation. Wait.
damn, I'm so happy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this was when Down came out. And
Oh yeah.
so this is literally the time when Down started getting played on radio. And this is when me and Jake reconnected and we spoke, and I came up with this idea. And when he saw the drawings, and he's like, yeah. And then I said, listen, would you look to do it? It's kind of was working well, and I was so nervous because they had just flown from New York the night that come back from New York the night before. Turns up on the shoot set, first time sees it close, and he goes, I always had faith in you, and let's do this. So that was my first photo shoot with him, and being in my stuff. And then if you notice in that picture, I did
Yeah.
customized trainers. So the hip hop element in that is that I did customized
Ah.
trainers. So those trainers he's wearing are
Wait, I'll put it back.
first
Oh, you can't see it. Damn it.
yeah, but those trainers are my first prototype trainers I did way back then, infusing Indian brocade and those laces and stuff and high tops. So
There's a picture of
yeah,
you, and I think it's in New York, which is I thought you premiered it during Fashion Week, where there's like a couple of guys walking by and you perform, and there's like jackets hanging off. And
yeah.
then I saw a video as well. And so when did you know that this was going to be the thing? When did you know you were going to call it Saran Kohli? Was it after the
Uh,
Mumsy Stranger, or like was it after New York?
No, it was kind of in between that because I didn't sort of
I
market
have this
myself.
as
It was
well.
just
Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, so I didn't like market myself in the senses that it was just me as a designer. It wasn't like a label. It was like I designed. This is me.
Yeah.
It wasn't till probably about a year before the awards happened, and I would say a bit of weight because I think it was a case of having a label. You should earn something for yourself before you call it a label. And I think I needed something behind me, and that's where New York was basically a launch that I had. My sister and me basically joined hands, and she's goes, Sarah, you need to do a show here. So we basically did this very sort of like art meets fashion kind of thing where we wanted to hang these mannequins and do it like an art gallery vibe and do a collection, do a catwalk. And I tied up with the PR agency Aisha from BB, and we basically she was just like sold on the idea, and she pushed us, and that was kind of like an exposure. And I met a lot of people from the New York film industry that were there at that time, sort of budding actors and stuff. And that was the kind of the thing because I told them, if anything, this is for the music, this is for the culture, but it's also at the same
Yeah.
time like what I do. So that was like a soft launch, as you say, kind of like introducing myself, and that was my mini catwalk in that. But again, I did it as an installation, not as a
Yeah.
full on thing, as a networking thing, and it worked really well. I went back and forth to New York to do sort of client visits and stuff, so it was a really nice experience. But that was the journey when I started to formally into a label. 2016 was my official launch physically, like a space environment
That's when
label.
you had your own shop. You had your own first
Yeah,
outlet, right, in South Woodford?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
landed in South Woodford, and that was my sort of first time sort of joining in into like a fully fledged experience. And but before that, it was all about collaborations, client seats, like hotel uniforms. So it was just more like a designer and a product, but it wasn't a label as such. So I was just transitioning. It was just a journey. I was transitioning to building something to a point where I felt like, yeah, now it's like a full-on experience. So it took longer than I expected, but that was purely because I think I was creatively involved in things like designing for a dance crew, like uniforms or
Yeah.
performance pieces. So, yeah, and then that was when I was exposed to that time. I was very much exposed to bespoke tailoring. I was learning the craft, understanding the laws. I call it laws because people got this a rule of thumb behind bespoke in terms of the A to Z of it. And that's when I really sort of categorized it into this is the kind of man, my profile, market, and came together as a business model.
And that landed you to this wonderful little award. Oh God, can't even see half of the photo now. So annoyed. I was gonna be like, that's gonna be a
Well,
good
listen, is
transition.
you've been able to do that. That's amazing. Yeah. So that was um an amazing experience because winning that award kind of put a little bit of stamp but boost of confidence because and another thing about that if you can get a hold of the video I'm
I
actually
can put it
secretly
up. Do you want me to put it up?
oh, there's a feature like that too. Yeah, basically I'm performing in there. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm
I
wearing a
can see.
mask.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, oh my God, you done your research. Yeah, so that's me perform. Well, that's from a different. I don't know.
I
That's
know,
the
but
same
you
one. I'm
did it.
not sure.
No, it's not the same one.
Similar.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
similar, but
So,
you have that sort of mask.
yeah, so that's basically when I was performed in there, and there was a very funny thing because, and the Siba, who was the show choreographer, trusted me. She goes, "Saren, I trust in whatever you want to put on. You don't need any
Yeah.
help. I choreographed the whole segment, music, lighting, everything." And I said, "I'll just come in and do my thing." So literally, I'm behind backstage. My clothes that I was sitting on the table waiting to, for whatever category it was, jumped on, did my thing, came off, and then just sat back down. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Cheers. Yeah, yeah. I literally was like as if I did this. That never happened. That was what it was. And next thing you know, it's like HSY is there, Lubna's there, and a whole plethora of judges and like people who've done
Yeah.
so well. And next thing this happens, and I'm like, wow. So, yeah, that was an amazing experience, an evening to say like I've done this, I've reached this far. So it's good, confidence.
I want to ask you, what does luxury fashion mean to you? Or just luxury in general?
Luxury for
Don't
me
take too long.
is no. It's quality. It's something that stays consistent and it represents the best of what you are because luxury
Yeah.
isn't about price. It isn't about hierarchy. It's about the best thing, best version of that product and the ability to create something without boundaries and to be able to make the most perfect and most beautiful thing it would be. But it stands for something that you aspire to. It's a
Yeah.
ladder that you want to be. And, for luxury, for example, ballet, I would put it as luxuries because when you actually do ballet, you find it's very engineered. When I did ballet for the first time at the age of 25,
Right,
my
BBC.
body, my body danda just went like, it's like someone maru a danda like old school, and then suddenly you're like, but it's a form of the perfection of what it needs to be in form
Yeah.
of the art of that. So I find it's the route for perfection. Luxury is a route for perfection of what you ideally idolize. So yeah.
I also want to touch up on this. So I think your mother said this in an interview, and then you said it as well, that you guys create high-end haute couture garments and you do bespoke tailoring, and there's consultations and appointments that can happen in your shop for 1 hour, 2 hour. For me, I don't know why, but Indian fashion has never been, when I was growing up, there were only two designers that I knew of. There was Anand John in NYC, who's come down now because of his, he's got incarcerated.
Yeah.
And there was Manish Malhotra. And
Yeah.
for me, haute couture always meant like the likes of Chanel, John Galliano, Valentino, McQueen, Versace. And I know of the influence of haute couture in all of these labels, such as the craftsmanship and the couturier. But how does that fit in, or how does Indian fashion play into that? And how do you guys play into that sort of light? Like, yeah, educate me a little bit.
See, Indian fashion is epitome of haute couture. And
Yeah,
reason being is, and a lot of people have this thing that haute couture means luxury. Now, haute couture is a process. It's a kind of craftsmanship. It's the level. For example, you have a tailor, you have a master cutter, then you have an hotelier who should know every aspect of everything. He's like she's like the bioengineer of everything.
yeah,
Then you have someone like the Elon Musk and the Steve Jobs of it. That's haute couture, because someone who pushes boundaries and creates with limitations or with whatever it is to create this perfect amalgamation of hand craftsmanship, tailoring, the best of the fabric, but to create a beautiful garment that should stand test of time. Haute couture goes beyond that. It's the future of the fashion. What it is, it's not for the masses, and it's
yeah,
not that it's classes. It's the affordability factor of it, but it's something that is made to stand the test of time, and it's the beauty behind the art of fashion. What it is, and it's more of a style. It's a style, heritage, and that's what haute couture is a process. And the process is not something that's done in 5 days. It could take 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. It's not time bound. It is the product and style bound and personality bound of creating an aura of something that hasn't yet existed.
yeah.
And that is catching up. So if I create a piece 5 years ahead of us, people are catching up with it because that how far it is. So designers, be it Manish or Tarun or Sabya, have kind of worked ahead that people are still catching up because
Yeah.
they've kind of pushed the needle way beyond where it should be.
I think I want to get your take on like South Asian fashion and kind of like the evolution of it from, I think when yourself and myself were growing up, like I said, I only knew of like two designers that fit into a commercial, which was Manish and Ananjan. Other than that, we would go to like a local sort of like fabric and get it done from like Auntie Ji down the road, just be like, ye kurta bana dijiye, or like something
Yeah.
like that. But now you have like the likes of, such as you self-mentioned, like Sabya Sachi, Rohit Baz, Ritu Kumar, Manish Arora, Tina Tahlini, and like you have brands like that are coming up. Ritik has like HRX, and like Salman has Was It Being Human, and like so many celebrities and like cricketers even have lines. Discuss to me the evolution of fashion and how that's changed in terms of the products that now are being put out, how you fit into that, and your take on this new wave or this wave of like designers that are out there and the products that they're creating.
Oh, I'm gonna try and do this because I know we're time bound, but the evolution could
Oh
take
no,
a whole
actually,
evolution.
Instagram, by the way, Instagram lives are now for 4 hours. You can do them.
Boom! All right, let's do this.
But don't
Chapter
take
one.
4 hours. Don't take 4 hours.
Okay, so let's go back to the time just very briefly. This is what my mom explained to me when she started. There was a university, there was no college. LCF wasn't even here yet. Even 80s. University of Arts London was just a conceptual, very small, very small hub. There was no university, there was no teaching practice, so there was no such thing as a designer format of graduation, becoming a designer and all that. It came much later, but back then it was more the showcase of heritage and craftsmanship, and basically it was very regional. You could only tell unless you knew your culture, knew the country really well, or where someone's from that period. So someone's from North India, so it'll be shalwar kameez, but someone from South India would be like, your silk saris, and it's very very different than Maharashtrian. And then you go to Northeast and you'll see ikat prints and you'll see handlooms of different kinds. It was very different, and at that time exposure wasn't there, and it wasn't seen much. It wasn't worked on much, and also at that time, it was very much culturally and religiously and occasionally bound. You would wear it if there was wedding. You would wear it if it was a religious ceremony. You would wear it for this. It was representation of a particular cultural significance, and there was the humble beginnings of that. So if suit salwar was meant to be worn then, because that was the only option that was displayed, but that's the only thing that was pushed on the agenda. And later on, as generation change and confidence boost, yes, weddings kind of became, I would say, the first stepping stone to all this, because that's where the people could display that they were aspiring to be more wealthier or aspiring to be more of the...
Did you ever have this? So we had this at weddings where the bride would get clothes and there'll be like suitcases, and then like the bride side would actually have like suitcase and this be like, this is by Neetu auntie. Did you guys have that as well?
I don't know. I mean, I was not so. You would see me more just. I don't know. I wasn't so involved. I don't remember. Maybe my sister and my mom and her friends would be in that sense. But I think back then, what it was very simple. Very much like knockdown weddings today. Now, it's what you see was back then. It was literally just two people, immediate family, very sort of intimate pictures. That's exactly how it began then, and that was only representation that we had. Was South Asians' fashion was very much bound by ceremonies and occasion. Fashion or trend sort of became when economically country kept changing, and we've had waves of this. For example, 60s is a very good era when things were like the very high hair and the racing saris
and the eyeliners and things like
eyeliners and stuff, and the racing saris and all of this and the dramatic dancing. That was one era of it. That was a representation of also what 50s and 60s and 70s of the Western culture was happening as well. There was a good mix. 80s and 90s kind of became bland because India wasn't opening up. Economically, it wasn't opened up. There was no foreign investment. There wasn't a sort of like, there was a disparity between wealth and the 1% and the bottom class. The middle class hadn't grown. They didn't know what to spend their money on. And also layers wasn't created. The evolution kind of happened as soon as culture started opening up and other influences started stepping into this timeline. So it's like looking at it, the Avengers Marvel phase 1, 2, 3, 4 is literally that. This is how many superheroes were back then. Then everything changed and there was a follow-up. 90s opened up, mid-90s things started opening up, and 2000 is when South Asian fashion really started opening up because representation started increasing, but also confidence started increasing. Designers started taking risks. They were coming out of the school with the thought of designing much beyond than just religion ceremonies or occasions, and they started creating cultural significance in everyday wear. In India, it was much more. Here we're preserving culture. In India, it was the opposite. In Pakistan and stuff, it was more like, no, we're beyond that because we see this every day. Fast forward to now, what's happened is what we have is called multi-layers. Within every layer. It's like, it's like parallel universes of everything. Like you could wear a kurta with trainers much more confidently now. Before then, it was looked down upon. I mean, the trend, let's just say, with sandals and socks, sliders and socks. I've been seeing them, my aunties and uncles and everyone wearing it from age to dark. And suddenly I was like, whoa, that is, you would just be like, no, man, that ain't going to be a trend.
And now
that's just now it's like the trend. And you're like, wow. And like, where is this coming from? I remember seeing a brand, I don't know if you remember, I think it's called Jukes or something, where they had these track pants that were just like churidars, very fitted up to the knees and then bag and then zipped to the side. This was like mid 2000s in Topshop used to be sold. That was the first dance related collection I saw on a high street, which was so obvious. Like they ripped it from churidars with the side zips and stuff and the influence. But that's what it was, is very senses that Western culture sort of took certain things and we weren't so confident. And now it's such layer after layer. Now we can wear everything, mix and match and throw it. Is because we as representation of diversity has evolved, has pushed boundaries and become normalized to the point where we are more like we can wear like an overcoat, and I can put up a kurta underneath, and I can wear my Supremes underneath, and then just have like this side bag, and it still ticks all those boxes that I'm brown, I'm white,
Yeah.
I'm beige, I'm everything. So the evolution is in the sense that back then there wasn't. And in terms of UK, just to sort of narrow it down slightly, is in the UK it was very hard because to shout and scream because there wasn't a medium. The medium started when the magazines came. From what I'm seeing, my mum sort of had those recognitions and have been exposure, and it's only because the magazine culture, but the print was so strong, the representation increasing, and
Yeah.
you know, and then slowly, goodness gracious me, bend like Beckham. Is these significant things that represented the culture in a much more wider audience and sort of beautified the whole who we are, and appreciation from other people sort of increasing, and that's what happened. Diverse marriages started happening, and all these little tiny specks of these synergies started allowing things to mold and fit into things. And that's when designers here locally, and to differentiate between designers and shopkeepers was very much important, because a lot of them were felt like, well, wait a second, I work hard in creating a product, I'm known as a shopkeeper. No,
Yeah.
I'm a designer. And audience also wasn't able to relate to it. The generation here, first, third generation, was very difficult for them to understand what does that mean. So they couldn't tell. They just saw Bollywood. So anyone associate Bollywood, even today, anyone associate Bollywood, oh my God, designer.
No, I know what you mean, yeah.
But no one is aware of independent scene in India, which is really good. No, now so much as a beautiful independent scene where we're speaking for ourselves. We're not speaking just because one designer does it. Everyone just copy and be like, we're all designers. So it was a very different time, and magazines helped right up the point when then social media kicked in, and that opened up another channel. So every step of the evolution has like a meteoroid that basically explores your significance of
It's like a
cultural
domino
heritage.
effect in a way. Like one
Yeah,
goes to another.
it is.
Goes, yeah.
Just like music, like, you know,
Yeah.
Apache Indian in the mid 90s, early 90s, that was something. Then came Rishi Rich. Every smaller significance, Jay Sean, they broke barriers in terms of music was so widely known. So there was a hunger of representation of music. Then it became the arts. Then it became fashion. Everything has a significance of someone pushing that door or ripping the envelope to say, read about us, learn about us, we matter. That kind of pushed that agenda forward to let people take interest in these things and make careers out of them.
Yeah. I want to move on to talk about your vitiligo mask, but I think this is a really good point where I want to kind of talk about, you talk about like groundbreaking people. Where do you stand, and where does your label stand in all of this now? As of this moment, as of this generation, as of the mediums that we're in, which is like the influencers, the sort of like social media dominated situation, where do you see yourself in that?
Oh, I would like to see myself everywhere. I think because there's so many platforms.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in that very pivotal point of transitioning into actually, I feel like I can be more self now than I was before. Before it was like a smaller universe. Now it's like I could be anywhere I want to be and however I want to portray myself. And I think it's a community. It's a community thing. Like just in dance, we're all a community that look after each other and boast about each other. I think in fashion, I think that's also one of those things where we need to speak for ourselves, but also be a fraternity, like a support system. So I think now I see myself being able to diversify. And I say diversify in a sense is my design sense, my DNA, my product line. Things I want to experiment with a bit more. There's a more audience available for it. Like I could really mix and match. I'll say like do a whole Punjab related, collection. Like my recent campaign was purely inspired by, honestly, like we're doing chai, was cha.
Was it the one with V Kapoor?
With V and everything, yeah. And that took me to an inspiration when I was researching like Darjeeling Express. Like I wanted to I wanted to get a sense of sipping chai in a cold weather and what would you have? And I didn't want to make it seasonal. I just wanted to get colors and just cuts and stuff and just a silhouette kind of thing and merge it into a mismatch of like Indian street style to formal and mix and match, just make it pop. So that's literally, I feel that kind of describes me where I am as a brand, is that I am now moving towards a much more layered collections or layered product line. It's not just bespoke suits. It's much more than that. It's in a way allowed me to go back to my roots, influence more dance into it, influence this. So I'm actually working on things now, finally, in terms of using technology in order to explore like movement and working with artists that will help illustrate a lot of movement into things, or outfits that speak movement. So it's a good time. And vitiligo, you picked up on, was something that I really wanted to speak of, because it's something that I have been softly speaking about. But I think the pandemic was an opportunity to just express myself. And I just had this eureka moment. I was like, wait a second. When I look at myself, I see myself as a print of colors. Because if someone were to ask me, what am I? I'm like, yeah, majority brown. But then my condition speaks of melanin, which is a mixture of everything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to infuse that into a mask and have a sense of security and protection, but also have it wasn't say like a political or an activism. It was more like I should speak about this and fuse it into something, that one thing. I shouldn't be putting words into your mouth. Let this be the talking point. And this representation of people who have this and deal with this. And it goes very layered. Like, growing up was difficult when I had vitiligo. And now I feel like we've spoken so much about it, and I feel like we're opening doors about it. Mental health is such an important key aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I think it is the right time to scream and shout about things that you should and that haven't been done.
How did the collaboration come to be with, is it Mira Abad?
Yeah.
The artist. Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Mira have also, she's such an amazing soul. We met through dance.
Is she a
And
dancer?
she loves dancing, but she's actually she's an architect. She's a graduate architect.
Okay.
Hates architect, wants to do something illustration. She's a multifaceted. She's super talented. She's like set designer. She's an illustrator. She could design. She could do anything creatively. So me and her have basically been friends for like 6-7 years now, and always talked about doing something or the other. So she's worked with me doing sort of artwork, illustration, and basically we've created some prints. So she was a go-to person. I said, Mira, this is what I have in mind. And when I told her, she's like, sleepless nights, let's do this. So we'll be just like Zoom calls and doing this and designing. I'll be sketching, layering, and she'll be putting into 3D art format. We'll be back and forth. And that's how it sort of came about. And then she knows this because she did her first illustration and I was her muse. And she goes, would it be okay to highlight these features of your eyes? I said, please go ahead. So she made that as a subject.
Yeah.
And that's when I went back to her and I said, you know what, you'll be the one that I want to go to because you first represented me. I want to represent you. And I think it was something we wanted to do for together. So that's how it came about. And we just basically just dived into creating something, and, touch wood, it spoke volumes, and I helped start conversation that was much needed. And I was so glad for the older generation, current and the upcoming, because all three have faced different dilemmas, different restrictions. So so that collaboration with Mira really helped put it to life.
I mean, you got really nice coverage from it. And is it £2 or $2 from everything goes to the society?
£2.
£2.
Yes.
£2.
Yes.
I just kind of want to brush up on things because I did a little bit of research, like I said, on yourself. And I think now in terms of vitiligo and so many people in the media mainstream speaking out about it, I mean, I will say, I don't know of any South Asian person, but you have the likes of like Winnie Harlow, who's, come out, and she's like, I think like the face of like everything that is vitiligo. And there's Caden Williams, who just did a campaign for like Primark. You have John Hamm, who's talked about it, Don Draper, Tamar Braxton, Michael Jackson briefly, I think, spoke about it. But you also have people speaking about like albinism. So you have like Sean Ross and, Deandra Forrest, who I love. And you have like all these sort of conversations coming to the forefront. But I want to go back. I want to really go back because it mentioned in one of the articles that the first symptoms of it showed up, I think, when you were 16, and it was near your sister's wedding, and auntie started pointing at you. I never knew of vitiligo, I think, like until I saw it on like mainstream TV. How, from a human perspective, I just want to know, you're growing up, you're living this absolute life, you're hustling, you're selling stationery, you're doing all of this, you're getting into fashion, you're getting into dance, you're living your life from a emotional perspective. Like, I think the only stupidest thing that I can make it, if there's anything that happens in our bodies when you're growing up as a boy, is like, I can create it, like take it back to like when body hair grows and you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with me? But like, how does it feel? Like, what sort of psychological things do you go through? And like, I know you've made peace with it now, and I look at your face, and I think I said this to you once before. I was like, dude, your face is like absolutely beautiful. Like, I
Oh, thank
really
you.
find like this part, it's like it actually is really beautiful. I look at it from a fashion perspective because I grew up in fashion, and I find obscurity and these flaws to be like so beautiful because that's what I've been trained to. But how does it psychologically impact you, and how does it feel when this happens?
Um,
Do you just go hide in the toilet and then you were just like,
yeah. It's all
I'm
the
not
above.
coming out?
It's no, it's all the above. It's you're scared because it was like a little dot right here. That's what it.
Yeah,
I think this is the one. This is the one that's gone back to normal now. This
yeah,
is the first patch that came. It was a week before my sister's wedding, and everyone noticed it there because no one could tell I had something. I thought it was could be a pimple or it could be a scar from a pimple. You know,
yeah,
anything. It's only when I was there, and then in Punjabi it was called fileri, and they were saying these words and stuff, and they were like, and it kind of the conversation just kind of went on. No one actually came directly to me. Oh, your life is over. It's just conversation you hear, and when you're like 15, 16.
yeah,
You're going through, we all been there, 15, 16, one of this perfect image, like my
yeah,
style has to be perfect, my hair has to be perfect, like, I want to be the coolest dude in the room. Suddenly you're like, this is it. You can't be a public person anymore. It really affected my confidence and it affected my self-esteem because when I came back and then when it was seriously looked into in terms of what is it termed as here? I made an appointment with the doctor in the hospital with NHS there was there was no research. There was just a printout, I remember,
yeah,
saying this is what vitiligo is. All the doctor said is, listen, it's just unfortunate that your dark skin it shows, but here you can't tell. We can give you some cream to see if it works, but then after that it says try makeup. So
the doctor said
Selfridges,
that.
the doctor said that, and another
Wow.
petition said that there's a makeup brand called some I can't remember now, but there's a makeup brand in Selfridges. That was the only place you could get, and my mum went and got that, and I said just try. I'm like, Mum, I don't feel comfortable. Like I'm
Yeah,
drinking, I'm hiding myself. I don't know. It's like, and the thing was, it was only this much, but because of stress, it started expanding, started spreading,
yeah,
and I had to just wear makeup, and I was just conscious because I'm constantly being looked at because even someone's talking to you with eye contact, you're thinking they're looking at this. They're thinking
yeah,
this in your head. It's like a speech bubble. Oh my God, what's this? Oh my God, what's that?
yeah,
Those are the things kept happening at school. And I came home, I said, Mom, I don't want to go to school. I can't handle this. I don't know what's happening. I think I'm going to die. I think this is going to spread everywhere. And the thing was, because being an MJ fan, I knew what he had.
yeah,
And what he had was what we call as extreme vitiligo, when it goes completely out of control, that you have no choice but to make your skin push it towards getting it all white.
yeah.
So you had to go through, may have bleached or whatever, but he must have come to a point where it must have become such a mishmash that
Well,
you
his skin was
feel,
burnt as well because he did what was it the Pepsi campaign where like,
yeah,
yeah,
heat. So it's like it's sensitive to heat. And so things like this really affected me, my self-esteem, my confidence. I didn't know what to do. I felt like, you go through this early mode of depression
yeah,
and you just think of the worst of everything. And they start coming in my hands and elbows and chest. I was like, this is it. This is the end. It's only when my grandfather stepped in and said, let me find. And it's one of those things. In India, they say they have the cure. And my grandfather went to Rajasthan, all the way to Rajasthan to find a root of a plant, which is in
yeah.
form of a sand that I had to have a little bit of honey. I couldn't even swallow it down. That was the only alternative at that time that was there, and homeopathy was there. But I don't think it had progressed so much in mid 90s to the point where it's widely available. It was just if only one of the many doctors had done any form of research.
Yeah.
But over the years, I went through a lot in the sense of got steroids. I went to Mumbai, got steroids injected into me. They peeled my skin on my leg, shaved it off to see if it'll grow. So it was like I came to a point where I said to myself, I'm not a dummy. I'm not an experiment.
Yeah.
And I had to stop. And I said, if this is going to cure, if there is, it's going to happen itself. If it isn't, it's not going to happen. I have to live with it and I have to accept it at some point. But I wasn't ready. I used to say it.
What age are you right now?
What age am I right now?
Not right now,
Right.
at this moment,
Oh,
at this
okay.
moment that you're saying the
Oh,
speech
thank
to
you.
yourself
Oh,
mentally.
this is university. This is university.
Yeah.
This is 17, 18 university, first, second year and stuff. And, you know, because you go through a lot of things. You've gone through puberty, you've gone through, you know, you're in
Yeah.
adolescence and stuff. And then you're going through this whole dating stage and having a girlfriend. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a girlfriend. No one wants to be interested in me. I'm never going to get married, because you just hear stuff. And what I realized is that I'm going to find a cure in India, but at the same time, the curse is in India. So where there's a solution, the problem is forced out. It's like a burger, you know, in the middle, you kind of in here in the meat, just hanging around, and then just pointing out that we help you, but we don't want to help you. So there's a stigma joined to it and stuff, and loads of these things were happening. And it says, son, it's going to be difficult for you to find a partner. It's just very, very sort of like social pressure of a lot of things that affected me. And I sort of started becoming a person that didn't want it to be in front of the camera anymore. I didn't want to be faced with a position where I would be taking pictures of me or anything like that, because I felt very much cut off from the point of that. I don't feel much more human anymore, that the human side of me was stripping away.
Yeah.
And I felt very soulless at that time. So my university time was very much a little bit of a post-uni. Actually, it started spreading after university when I started working, because I realized stress, XYZ is a factor, sun is a factor, can't eat this is a factor, fish and milk is like a stigma or whatever it is. But it wasn't until I was 24 when I had met a doctor who was based in actually in Punjab. He's an urologist, study of the eyes. So
A urologist.
Urologist. Okay, so I went to him because I had gone for a cousin's wedding and he wasn't so far from there. So we took this 3-hour trip to go and see him, and he was really recommended. And I said, no pot, we're here. Let me fulfill everyone's, you know, list of things to do. Beta, abhi kush, maybe kush. Let's go. He has studied my eye and all the veins here to say what problems I have. And he said, I found, because he used to make medicine from the plant. So this is like, you know, your lotions and everything that we have today.
Yeah.
He makes the actual formula, which is in raw format, then becomes synthesized into creams. He said it's all related to your gut. And what's happened is through time, GMO, fast food culture, we are not eating real food anymore. And I realized after that, doing much more research, that 2% of the population has vitiligo. And that is because of what we've been fed. Our bodies are not evolving faster than the food is evolving. So we're having a lot of things in our system that are now showing up and taking away a palate of ours or doing this. That really woke me up. That really was like, wow. I was like that. So he gave me a medicine that would just hit the gut. He goes, any disease you get, be it heart problem or be it cancer, it starts from the gut. It doesn't start from the heart. It starts that's your center. That's your motherhood, right? That was it. That was the start. And I started researching, reading books, and I was, you know, going to New York. I used to meet someone, so, you know, sat me down and say, are you okay? And everything. This is the thing that happened. Like, older generation didn't know how to start the conversations. Like, are you okay? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm fine. Like, what's wrong? And so you got vitiligo. So why would something be wrong? Why would it start from the step left? Why can't it start from step right?
Yeah.
And I had to change the conversation for myself. I had to be the one be like, if I was to be in this position where I saw a younger version of me and I said, what would I say to him? So that's how it had to change from grassroots. So I remember meeting I was in Waitrose, and I saw this young lady at the till. And she saw me, I saw her, but she had it all in her hands, but I didn't see that. She would constantly look at me. And at that time I thought, okay, I know what she's looking at. Maybe because she finds it fascinating, or is it because she might have it? She goes to me, sorry, can I ask you something? I said, I have this and I don't know what to do. And the first thing I said to her, you are beautiful. This is a beautiful thing you have. Trust me on this. This is a beautiful thing to have. I said, this is art on your body. Now, I say, if you want to do something about it, there's options available. But if you don't do something about it, don't let it stop you. I had to kind of say it, just say it. She goes, oh my God, no one's spoken to me like that. Like, everyone just speaks to me like attack. So I had to strip it back, and I said, first accept what you have, then decide if you want to undo it, if you feel like, because the procedure is very slow. It's it's a lifestyle change. You have to change everything. Like, citric acid has to be taken away from your diet. Red meat has to be taken from your diet. Go vegan if you want. It's a very extreme version of it if you do. but it helped me talk and relate and speak. So every time I meet someone, I'll just give them every option on a piece of paper. Anytime,
Yeah.
I'm like, try it. This is, for me, this actually worked. UV light is an option, but for everybody is different. So a lot of my friends that I've grown up with, some of them they've been, I would say, almost cured. So yeah, it's very, I would say, it doesn't feel, I don't feel like vitiligo. Physically, like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel. But mentally, it pinches you. And mentally, it attacks a part of your brain that says, you are not the image of perfection, or you're not the image of normality, or what we call is normal. So that's what you're pigeonholed. You're stereotyped, pigeonholed, you're put in a label. But fast forward, man, I feel like now it's like, yeah, like we are we are activating conversations, we're activating solutions, we're activating help,
Yeah.
reach out. So yeah, this is what it is.
That's a heavy one. I think like
Yeah.
I'll still continuously say this. I think the first time I saw you in Company 68 was like I was like, this man is like really beautiful. And
Oh
I
man.
still look at you and I still think that you're a very handsome, beautiful person. But yeah, I think the perception of it in the conversation which you touched by is absolutely beautiful to talk
Thank
about.
you.
Do you want to work
Absolutely.
more with the Vitiligo Society to create something more like, how do you feel like now that you've kind of had the mental space to reflect on all of this? Where do you stand now? Where do you see, like, are you going to do more advocate work? Are you going to, what is there going to be what are the next steps of this now for you?
Um, uh, well, this was my first step, just a mask itself, but it really opened my eyes as to there's a lot more to be done.
Yeah.
We are talking about vitiligo. We are doing this, but I feel like it's a community of itself, and I feel we need to be represented, and I feel like we shouldn't be on the sideline. We should be part of everything which is forefront. And I think where I feel like I need to be more proactive is that look at ways and means of where, if I started with just a mask as a product, what else it could be that could be a representation of us, what
Yeah.
it could be as a community that could represent us. And I've not sort of triggered it to just, okay, it has to be something physical. It could be something mental. It could be anything, but it needs to be something that stays and has a avenue to grow, and it gives purpose to anyone, be a child, be someone in the the last steps of their life, but just something that gives them a sense of belonging. I will definitely evolve it into a product line. I am looking into clothing as such that represents this
Yeah.
beautiful, I call it beautiful palette of me that I am, because what I feel this is that I feel the vitiligo community is the antidote or vaccine for racism, because
Mm.
what is beneath you? What is
Oh my God,
beneath
can you
all of
just say
this?
that one more time? Can you just say that vitiligo is the antidote to racism?
Honestly, vitiligo is the
Wow.
antidote and the vaccine for racism, because when you take all of this out,
Yeah.
what is beneath all of this?
Yeah.
Color, what is color? That's why now when I talk of color, I just say we are never we are transitional beings. We're
Yeah.
not. We're geographically pushed and pulled and everything and everything. You could cook a steak 5, 6 different ways. You don't look at steak
Yeah.
one way. Food is looked at many different ways. People, unfortunately, because we have the ability to think and reflect, and we're so multi-dynamic in our ways, we get lost in having not just an opinion, but activating what we actually believe in. And what happens is that gets lost and dispersed. So in that sense, this is what vitiligo can actually help and do. It's eradicate prejudice, eradicate ignorance, and eradicate a previous code of conduct of what racism, or be it institutional, or be it cultural, or be it religious. It can eradicate everything, because at the end of the day, this is how human I am. I
Yeah.
am made of different color. I have pink, I have white, I have brown. What is it that you can't see? You can't hear me. You can't understand that I could speak. I could talk. So I think that's the long term, and it doesn't have to be me. It could be
Yeah.
anyone. If I can play a small 1% role in this, my job is done, because I feel like this is a movement for a lot of things. So that's where we need to work on. We need to work on those ingredients of the vaccine.
I think what would help is like opening a conversation in mainstream platform. And, you know, I think what I would love is, and I would love to challenge you on this, is like, because I think you have a great amount of connections, is, you know how BBC Three do those like documentaries that are like half an hour to an hour, like Netflix does stuff or they're streaming things. I would love for you and the community to do some sort of like piece on this, or like a TEDx talks and things like that. And I think your passion really resonates. And I think one thing that I'm going to take away from this is really you saying vitiligo is the antidote and the vaccine for racism. I think that's going to stay with me. That's beautifully said. That's a gold mine.
Thank you. It's you can hear it. The passion is in me. The fire is in me, and I will take this opportunity, if anything, to get you on board to make this happen, because I may just think of stuff, but I need talent like your beautiful self, who is so multi-talented, and you're someone who I call it a sprinkler. You touch anything and just becomes like canvas changes something.
Stop it.
So
no, seriously,
like I said, I'll be happy to investigate and get people talking and see how this could be done, because it's much needed.
I have talked to you about this. I want to be part of the Saran Kohli label. I want to be in a campaign or walk down the runway or something. But other than that, I just want to. No, but seriously, yeah, anything. But I think that's really beautiful, and your passion, it really got to me. I think speaking of representation and speaking of diversity, I want to kind of like touch up on this, which is like in fashion. You know, we talked about designers already. We've talked about representation in media and synergies and different platforms and evolution. And I want to discuss it in regards to cultural appropriation and regards to representation in fashion. I think in fashion, we have finally now a couple of faces, like I'd say the likes of like Neelam Gill, Bhumika Arora. Who else have I got here? Sorry, I made a whole list, like Jinu Manthawan, Shanaina Shak, who did like the Victoria's Secret, and she's like the face of so many brands. Pratik Jain and Tarun Nija, all of these who are now faces that are becoming like faces of Olay, faces of Burberry.
Well, if Nikita Chadda is still here, she's one of those pioneers.
True. She is one of those pioneers, and yourself. I want to discuss two different points: culture appropriation and representation. In regards to culture appropriation, when I watched this a while ago, and one of your models has actually spoken about it, Raj. When Gucci did this, I'm sure you know where I'm getting at. When Gucci did this collection, I think it was around 2011, and it might be 2009. It might be let me look. I wrote that 2019. 2019, yes, and it featured white models wearing turbans. And then those turbans were sold on Nordstrom. And I also want to give some more personal experiences of cultural appropriation, which we still perpetuate. And I have now said for the last 2 years, no to. We work in Bollywood. We work in the South Asian film industry. And I think like I will say that I have perpetuated certain culture appropriation when like I will be teaching a dance to like a hen party and things like that. And are you still there? Well, hello?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I lost you there. I'll be teaching like a hen party, and my manager will say to me that, okay, take these bindis and give them to the client because they've requested it. And I'll be like, in the last year, something felt like really, I don't know, gutfully wrenching to me, because I was like, you know, seeing bindis in like Coachella Festival and people wearing it, I was like, it's a religious sentiment at the end of the day. It's fashion, but I was like, where's the boundary of cultural appropriation, and where do I play a part in it? Because am I appropriating my own culture by, I don't know, stereotyping certain things and feeding it for other people to take? Certain things like, you know, when we discuss or make jokes being stereotyped as like, just if we're Asian dancers, we're Bollywood dancers, we can't be anything more, we have to do Bollywood. Or when we put on the voice and we talk like this and we do the light bulbs and things like that. What are your thoughts on culture appropriation? And in regards to that Gucci thing, and in regards to just in general, where I think like even Victoria's Secret got a little bashing for it because they created like Indian jewelry and they had like, you know, yeah, just talk to me from a fashion perspective and a personal perspective.
Eh, I find this space very gray.
Yeah,
It's not black. It's not black and white as yet because um, with in terms of pointing out to the Gucci runway show and that campaign, I think if they wanted to get it right, they should have gone to the roots and had proper representation of an actual Sikh model doing it.
yeah,
I understand how they would somehow in their creative direction be like, well, it'd be nice for us to represent as well, to pay homage or represent this. But I think when you don't know a culture properly, or you don't investigate, you don't study and have a sense of respect of why that is done, and it's all about perspective. We see one culture's perspective from our eyes, they see ours from a different lens. This is where it becomes a bit of a gray and bit of a faded area. We don't know where do we stand. And I think this all comes down to not being conscious in your decision making. And this
yeah,
is where it shows when you step into cultural influences, you are you don't have the ability to change the course of that culture. You are not responsible for magnifying it unless you embrace some elements of it to make sure. For example, Chanel did the same thing.
yeah.
Chanel did a whole collection. Now let's see the difference between the two, just to point at the balance of that. Chanel and then what Gucci did, Chanel dug so deep into the cultural significance, but also the respect and the magnitude of the craftsmanship and amplified it to the point where they did it because they were going to enter India for the first time. This is when India was opening up. Armani had done a collection, Chanel had done a collection, Jean Paul Gaultier had done a sari drape
He did, yeah.
influences and stuff. But that's because it's like this. You say if I was to invite guests into my house who are not of my culture, I'm gonna bring the best out of it. I'm gonna pull all the stops. Gonna bring the food, the atmosphere, the smell, the works, just the whole sense of who we are. But if they walk away not learning anything, that's when it gets trouble. Because
Yeah,
I think that's what Gucci did. Gucci walked into a room, and that's where I felt there's a sense of not acknowledging and not respecting it. Because what they took was they didn't took the sense of feel of it. They took, oh, that's an accessory, so let's profit from it. That is not how it's done, and that has a religious significance to it. It's not something that you could. And I feel, if anything, this is the time when I feel being a Sikh, Sikhs are naturally magnify sense of style. That is what they should have said, is that this is a natural progression for a community to come on board to that fund. There could have been a Varis Ahluwalia doing that, but they didn't choose that decision.
yeah,
Cultural appropriation for me is it's a fine line. Like, for example, I also, for example, enforce in a sense is that I need to make my product in the grayscale of it needs to appeal to Asian, non-Asian. So I need to fit in, I need to do this, I need to do that. See, this is where it goes wrong. I need to do this.
yeah,
Whereas we feel like I want them to understand, I want them to learn, I want them to get a feel of it, and I want to get it right. And I want to merge and marry two things together. This is where we get lost. By the time we reach this is what happens. Chanel did it in a certain format, is that they actually magnified the beauty of a country and really represented it to a very much, it wasn't about being a Maharaja and stuff, but it was about the delicacy. It was about everything. It was such a of everything.
was it when they did like
and
the whole dinner table runway as well?
Dinner table thing and Maharaja
Yeah,
style. I mean, there was a theme. There was a theme to it.
yeah,
But to a certain extent, they pushed the boundaries towards it, and they really welcomed that. And it made us did not realize how beautiful we are already, and they made us elevate. In the sense is
yeah,
that you did this. We forget. Also, another sense is that we also are the problem in this. When it comes to cultural appropriation, is that we want others to magnify our culture.
yeah,
We want the Beyonce to wear a sari. Oh, it'd be so nice. you know, Theresa May, where we want Beyonce to, but when they do it, we start slating it. And I said, wait,
Yeah.
you wanted this to happen. You wanted a sense of community that they wanted it to happen. You wanted them to wear it. And this is where it becomes a bit inappropriate, is because when you're doing it from a style view, for example, Beyonce's video in Coldplay, her feature in that, there was this whole thing about her not doing this. It was never the intention of her looking more Indian. It was her more looking at Indian inspired. Just because Sonam Kapoor was there and she handled it naturally by running from one end to another, then Beyonce just did it in her being Beyonce version. But then rewind 10 years back, you'll be yearning for Beyonce to do it. You'll be yearning, say, we want representation. We want other people to do it. And why not? We should have it. But where the grayscale matter comes is that it feels like there's a code of conduct. There's a rule book that can't be broken. But then we ourselves are evaporating all sense of style because we need to be westernized. At the same time, we want to be, so where is our culture appropriation? Do we walk wearing cultural clothes every single day and wave that flag and say, well, I need to dress like this because it's so appropriate, because if we don't do it, someone else is going to take it. So
I think the opposing battle is that if we were walking around in our salwar kameezes and like going to jobs, would we still get the jobs? Would we still fit in? Because that conversation happens when I think the one thing that happens in my head is like when Black women talk about hair and they talk about not wearing froze or things like that. So I think like that's where my thing goes in regards to representation. I think like maybe we just don't have enough equal representation for us. Because think about it, like, yes, we had Jay Sean, yes, we had Raghav, yes, we have, you know, so many phenomenal people in music right now, like we have Zayn Malik, and, you know, there's been A.R. Rahman, and, you know, there's multitudes of people than you and I can name, but I feel like on a commercial mainstream platform, we can talk about Aziz Ansari, Mindy Kaling, Mira Sayal from Goodness Gracious Me. I still don't think, till this day, I will walk into a casting room and sometimes I will be the only ethnic person there. Or I will be I know only a handful of like Asian male dancers or like Asian people thing, like such as in our circle, which is Nikita and Ramzan, or Akash or Eddie, yourself and Mai, who are still kind of like being pushed into this state.
I'll give you.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
go ahead. Go ahead. Well, no. I want another question.
No. It was just going to be like, do you think when there's enough representation, will that take away the conversation of cultural appropriation? Or not really?
Well, think about it this way. Like Priyanka Chopra has sort of become a household name to represent what does it take to be someone who's been born and brought up in India, has a bit of a sense of being in the American culture. And she has, and she just recently become the ambassador for British,
UN,
for British Fashion Council. So so that is something major, and that normalizes a lot of things in senses that it's such an open-ended conversation now. It's not a closed door anymore. But she has broken barriers in a sense that she's allowed the representation of herself to be seen as a multifaceted in terms of like layers of it. She can be as Western as she wants. She can be as Eastern as she wants. She can be everything she wants because she's not scared of representing herself. I think it comes down to us to make that conscious decision. A lot of people, what happens is we tend to dilute ourselves is that to fit in this, for example, for hypothetically speaking, if I was to be in central London, I need to be the Fat Savile Row, I need to do this. So I have to, my checklist is I need to look as Oliver Twist as possible. I need to be the herringbone of everything. I need to speak in a sort of dialect of a British upper lip thing, accent. And I need to be, because it's been perceived for so long for that time. We tend to forget that that is perfection. So we don't need to change it. We don't need to change it. We need to just make it look like that. No one can actually come and change it any more than it needs to be. We do, as yourself, like when it comes to casting and stuff, it does. Like, for example, when I was casted for the Levi's ad, so when Jenny actually reached out to me and she says, listen, I want to get this right. This is how it was. She goes, Saran, I've seen your pictures with a turban and your mustache and everything. The thing is, I want to get this right. So I want to work with you. I'm not casting you just because you're going to represent this, but I don't want to get this wrong. So I want to make sure I get this right. And I remember you were there when we sat down and watched a whole documentary of evolution of Bhangra music. And next thing you know is we're just literally doing a small segment. But I felt that process, what changes the element is like to understand what we're actually representing and make sure it's in our bloodstream. And when it isn't done in that appropriation, then we're doing it in the most inappropriate way, where we're just either stealing it or we're grabbing it or we're just highlighting it. So for me, I'm still educating myself with cultural appropriation is because we were longing for representation. When it gets to a peak of representation, we feel we need to somehow remodel and package it to represent it itself. That's why I find it very gray in a
It's a
sense.
very gray line. Yeah.
It's such a gray line in a sense is that we don't know if the left is right or the right is left. So I feel it comes down each to their own to get it right, to make sure that if you're gonna do it, you know how to do it right. You know how to play that card. So don't dilute yourself or compromise yourself. I can't compromise my culture. I'm grown up into it. So my values are very different. If I was to, for example, if I saw an old Uncle G in the street and I had my white friend, I probably will touch his feet.
Yeah.
But that's naturally inclined into me. So why would I dilute and not be like, oh, hello. No, like, Sashikal, but that's because it's embedded in me, but I can't dilute that stuff. But that's a sign of respect. So let's follow it through because that person might learn something. So yeah, it becomes, I don't know, like, I don't know if you watched American Desi, this indie independent movie that came out in the 90s. It was one of those first cultural second generation, third generation movies that went wild. You should definitely watch it. It's called American Desi. It came out and it was an amazing display of, I don't know, you'll find a lot of things of cultural appropriation in that because the generation that was there was fighting, rebelling to become so westernized. They're willing to sell off their cultural differences and be like, let's make a movie on this. So you don't know. I still feel we're yet to come to the stage of evaluating this and having a proper term followed by the inappropriateness, which we're still yet to learn.
I think one of the things that you said before is like we need to support each other. And one of the other things that you said, I think it was in your Urban Asian interview, which was like support each other. I think just like going back to that Levi's ad, sometimes I look back at that and I feel I don't know, I feel disrespectful towards Bhangra now and like being Punjabi because I was like, there's two sides of Punjab. I'm from the Pakistans of Punjab. You're from the India sides of Punjab. Then I was like, do you remember at one point they wanted to put a bug on me and you did that bug on me? And I was like, oh, dear Lord, please don't put the bug on me. Please don't. And I've done it for like shows and things like that. But then I'm just like, there's a battle of like race and stereotyping and cultural appropriation within our own culture as well that we have to deal with and we have to discuss that as well because there's a hierarchy system as well that we still and politics that we need to discuss ourselves. So yeah.
I mean, I remember I was the one who was asked to tie the turbans, and I came to a point.
Thank God, I was like, so thank God that I didn't get to wear it, and I went to the side and I was like, please, can I not wear it? I went to the costumes department. I was like, can I please not wear it? I was like, you should get Saran to wear it.
I remember Raj. That was his first time I met Raj Vardhan on that shoot.
Oh yeah,
and I think that was one of his few jobs.
I feel like he should have been in the group. Why wasn't he? He has knowledge and history of Bhangra.
Yeah. So it was. It's perception, like I say, it's their perception. And I'm glad what you did because you stood up for something. You stood up for it. And I think that's what happens is when we don't stand up and we don't get it right, we don't know. And I remember like Jenny did come up to me and she goes, do you think that we should order the mirror? And I turned around and said to her, I don't think everyone should. I think I feel you have enough in your frame. There's nothing more that you need. And we stopped at that time. I stopped and I said, more than two people you don't need. I don't see the need for it because that's not how it was. It wasn't like just because it's Bhangra, everyone else, it was a mixture of people. And I know because seeing the Bhangra music in the mid-90s to early 2000, they were trying to depict that time of raves and daytimers and all of that, which I've been to. So I've seen it. It's a mixture of people. So it can't be just one. So it needs to be as natural as possible in that position and scene but then how we see in our eyes doesn't seem to fit into everyone's eyes. And
very true.
But you're right. But then had it been 10, 15 years ago, you would have been a different person. You'd be like, okay, let's do it. Okay. But then now it's more like, I think there's a line that needs to be drawn.
Yeah.
And you drew that line. I drew a line, and I think that was enough. After that, we didn't need to do anything. So that's different. That is the start. That is start of very small steps that it takes. But it's a much bigger and much more, because we live in a world where everything is a clash and a merge of everything. Everything is a mix and match of everything. We sometimes forget where it came from, where it ended up, and where it's going. And we all can't be historians of or gatekeepers of everything,
No,
because
agreed.
we're not all of us 100% culturally zipped up as well. So
Yeah. No, you're
so we
right.
can't all be fun. Yeah.
Um, I'm going to move on to a lighter note. Quickly, have two more points to do before we get into a nice little game. I feel like we've gone very, very deep, and thank you so much for going though.
I'm allowed Instagram as allowed us.
I know, I'm grateful as well. Hopefully, it doesn't cancel us.
Yeah.
Although my screen keeps going to sleep, I think. Does yours as well? Is that why you're tapping?
No, no, that's just like messages like get out, like don't ruin the guy's tash. Just
Oh
wait.
my God, stop it. Stop it. Can you quickly discuss the process of you creating a collection from like A to Z? So I want to know like how, like I know you've discussed like what inspires you, music, dance, everyday life and things like that, but how does it strike you? Then how do you start making? Like do you start sketching, then create a pattern and then, or like go to India and then get some fabrics? Like I want to know the Project Runway version where they're like, now you have an assignment and this is that, like, and then who also pays for it? How do you get the funding? Like I'm thoroughly intrigued by that. Obviously, if you don't want to talk about the business side of it, you can just be like, look, that's Intel.
No, I'm open. Yeah.
But like, how does one get commissioned? Do you go to still different outlets where after you've created a collection, you know, you'll be like, okay, I'll sell my collection in this store, and then this store can come and do a viewing. Then do you do price points? Like, yeah, I want to know from A to Z. Go.
Uh, so the whole creative process is pretty much very open. It's not. It doesn't always start from say sketch. It sometimes starts with the mood I'm in, or it's something that I haven't feel like I haven't discovered or I haven't tapped into. Sometimes it starts with the fabric. I love going to fabric stores. I love going to, I've been Brewick Street, I've been Poland Street, or I've been a warehouse in Walthamstow. I'll go to India and I'll go to the markets. And sometimes I would be like, I want to travel where this is from. Like for Shikankari, I've been to Lucknow, right to the source of it, how Shikankari is done, learn the technique in terms of understood how the thread work works. It's it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be like a mood. It could be, say, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a trend. So I want to like see if what's my take on it.
Yeah.
Or this is like, but it starts with one of those things that is the I would call the matchstick into the fire, like let's start. So when it starts, I tend to expand and researching online, offline, creating a sense of a mood board. Then I will create sketches to see my interpretation of that. From sketches, I will go back to fabrics and see which one would work, segregate them, separate them into groups, and be like, this would be this for this for this. Then after that, I would go into doing patterns in a sense is that how would this be cut, working with my master cutter and be like, this is how we need to draft it. Could we inch it up there, minus plus? So what I usually do is I will either do a mask in a
Yeah.
muslin. If I'm really getting anal about it, I'm like, no, before I actually do the real thing, this is to be the Iron Man prototype.
Yeah.
It needs to be that version first. So it's like version one. But sometimes I'll be like, no, I can see it. Boom, let's just do this whole thing. And let's
Yeah.
do the whole lot. So, and it's really, it's just how I'm gravitating towards. It's what is pulling me towards it. So it's never a creative process or anything. You would know, like even choreographing it. Sometimes it's the music, sometimes it's the subject, sometimes it's just movement. Then you put the music. So
Yeah.
you don't know. For me, majority of the time it's music. I listen to it and I'm thinking of a subject. Suddenly the sound for that subject would match, and I'll be like choreograph. So it could be that. But that's where it starts. Then it comes down to how many pieces in a collection that need to be, how many of those looks that need to be, and what else can I mix and match in that. So that comes to the next stage. Then the price point you mentioned is with me from before. It wasn't, because I was like all out, but then you realize, damn, budget flop ho gaya. Like budget.
You'll do all
So
your
then
accounts, so
I have
you
to
are
like take steps back.
thankfully have a team who kind of like manages the perspectives of accounts, let's say?
No, it's me. It's me.
Oh,
It's all
bloody hell.
me. I go through like doing the costing of the meterage, how much meters of fabric at the price that I've got to be used to finish the garment, then all the trimmings, everything else, then really getting into construction, how much time is spent into it. Then you obviously get into your markups, and obviously you're doing your retail. So it's a process, because you need to understand that you need to at the end get a return for it. I would
Yeah.
love to do fashion forward pieces where basically it's all about looks and stuff, but sometimes I'm a bit too practical in the sense that I'm doing it because I have a clientele, or I like to attract a certain clientele. So I tend to do my strategy in a sense is that I'm not doing it for competitive reasons, or I need to be cheaper than this or more expensive. It's more like it needs to be a reflection of the quality I stand for. So I
Yeah.
need to be within a benchmark. It's like a benchmark. I want to reach, this is my benchmark, work within this benchmark. What's the best you can get? And sometimes you compromise on the design. Sometimes you compromise, like you choose fabric B instead of A. But when it comes down to, I know my threshold is, say, 10 pieces. Out of 10 pieces, I want to sell about 8 or get orders for N amount, because I want to get that return so I can reinvest that money to start a new collection. So it's like back and forth of making sure that once you make it into a business model, you need to think of the other side of the brain, thinking the maths versus the brushes. So it needs to work. There needs to be a sort of harmony between the two. So that's what I
That's
tend
where
to
your
always
sales
battle with.
comes in, because you did sales for Hugo, isn't it? And that's
Yeah. I mean, my sales job, my first one was with Gas in Sloane Street, my first retail. And there was a summer job during university. I was doing that, but then my first interview that I really loved, the interview that I really loved was Banana Republic. So when Banana Republic first opened up, we were the first set of employees, sales managers, the first batch of people to open up Banana Republic on Regent Street. That was I was part of. And I remember the interview process. And I knew Banana Republic as a brand because I had clothes going to New York and back and forth, because my sister was there for 15 years, when she got married. So I had that exposure of what the brands are, like Amani Exchange and, all these brands that were like only in New York and that side of the town. So Banana Republic, I had loads of clothes from there. So when I went, I wore Banana Republic. Consciously, I'm like going to sell myself. So I'm going to wear the clothes. I'm going to go there. I was like, I'm cost effective. I already have the uniform. You sell, I sell. So I remember there was like 50 people in a room in this, like, in this recruitment agency, and I'm there, and I'm thinking, well, I get this job, and because it was like a part-time university job that I was wanting to get. So, and from fifth, what they did was they did these sales techniques and were like trying to sell me water or something. I don't know, all of these Then introduce yourself, and then they came to the point where they said, describe what you're wearing. Or what brands you're wearing. They just wanted to know what as a salesperson, what do you buy into? So when I got up, I said, my jacket, I can't remember. I said my shirt and my tie and my trousers, my pinstripe trousers are from Public. That must have felt like, okay, this man's come prepared. This man knows what BR is all about.
Yeah.
And what happened was, is like, out of 50, what they did was they did the reverse psychology. They took away, split the room. They brought 2 groups, put them in this side. They put 15 people this side, but they wouldn't tell what the situation is.
Yeah, it's like X Factor.
And then they'll say, you guys, please go. But they made it look like, you guys, please go in that room. These guys did it and say, thank you for coming today. And I'm like, I looked at the back and I'm like, whoa, I made it to the next round. There was 2 more rounds of interviews, and I was a salesman, but then I became the head stylist there within my end of the second month. I became head stylist there for a short period of time.
Wait, so that must translate into what your current state is in regards to your label. But I actually want to, it just hit me quickly. We're gonna let's bash this out in the next 10 minutes. My next question, which is like, how do you go about producing a show? Do you now go to obviously there's the Asian wedding exhibition. There's so many. I think now it's evolved into so many. Do you go to them? Do you showcase your capsule collections in them? Do you just do it now through the power of Instagram? But how do you decide budgeting on models, what models to get, and how to produce the show? Talk to me a little bit in regards to that quickly. 2 minutes.
So now quickly that you mentioned budgeting and funding and everything. So when I was starting off, like I said, the only thing I had, which was a plus point, is that I had a bit of a platform to start at least.
Yeah.
And you know, doing in terms of, I put my, I had put my, I, my, I had taken credit from my first supplier to produce a collection, thinking that I would eventually pay him. But then when I realized I actually sold, all that money went to paying off everything that I had took credit for. So if I'd taken 30 days credit, 50 days credit, I said, but they believed in me because I worked with them for 3 months stay, and I used to make chai for the chai wala. And I used to work right from them. So I earned their trust. It wasn't happening without their trust.
Yeah.
So I earned their trust and from ground zero. And then when I sold, I got my return. I paid everyone off. So this is relationship building. And then the profit came into me, and I didn't pay myself till much later. And in terms of producing a show, I haven't done, for my brand when I launched, I decided consciously, but this is not my platform. I need to be positioning myself completely different. So I didn't do any of the Asian exhibitions.
Got it.
I, till today, haven't done an Asian exhibition because I just feel that's not me. I'm not a wedding designer. I produce collections which are for special occasions. I'm much more than that.
Yeah.
And I wanna be just seen as that. So I have to work harder at that. Instagram, social media allowed me to showcase much sides of me. So I use that for my advantage to a certain extent. And also I had the opportunity to work with artists that spoke on my behalf. I able to collaborate with celebrities that spoke for my behalf, that allowed me to position my brand of where I'm trying to be. In terms of producing catwalk shows and stuff, so when I did my first catwalk show, models, yes, was a very sort of definite thing where I worked really close with the show producer. Having choreographic experience, it made it very easy to choose people, or to choose the candidates. Like, this is who I want. This is who I want. So I knew, because I had that experience of having a dance company and able to say, we have this budget, make it work. I was like, okay, so I can only give you 4 dancers. So I said, okay, I only have £1,000. Get 8 models in that. So I knew I had to get the 8 models because I was like, work within the budget, work within the budget.
Did you not call
Sometimes
on your friends, or like, did friends not reach out to you because you know?
Yeah. At the beginning, yes. I had all my friends, whoever I knew that I built relations with, were my support system. They were my support systems. Like, you know, relations are built with models. Relationships are built because this trust is earned. We've helped each other. Like I said, it's a community thing. We helped each other build those relationships and push each other forward, in a sense of that they believed in me as a brand, as a person. I believed in them as a potential of what I see in them. Some of the models, I've actually activated their careers purely because they allowed me to represent them and push something about them. Vice versa, it worked for me. They elevated me. So, you know, and I'm really humble about it because, like, say, Rajvardhan, I did a shoot with Raj at the Savoy. And I did a direct collaboration with the Savoy Hotel that gave me the sickest, hottest room called the King Suite, which is like 15 grand a night. 15 grand a night. And I don't like, I'm like, I can't even afford the bananas if you're hanging in there, mate. Like, you know, so what? But they believed in me and said, we're going to give you this one shot of producing a lookbook in this and a video. And I was like, okay, I need to nail this. So I couldn't compromise. And I had Raj, and Raj was like, when he came up, like, you know, him being, you know, he's amazing. God bless his soul. He's such an amazing. He goes, Paji, I don't want to let you down. I was like, listen, you will not let me down because I won't let you let me down. Listen to me what I'm going to say. Hear me out. I was being a little bit of a, like, you know, let's just keep trusting me. Let it be. Until today, he says it was the best thing I've ever done because no one's actually made me look so good. I come in and I do a shoot, this and that. You directed the whole thing from get-go. Yeah. So a lot of support. My mum's been a support. Yes, she's been a support financially to a certain extent at the beginning stages. She did help me to a certain point. But then after that, I had to be on my toes because I have to speak my own language. But it's not one of those things where I've been launched because of her. I've launched my own terms, but parents will support you if they want to see you do well. They will support you. Yeah. And that support I had because I've also supported her. I produced a fashion show for her at the age of 17. That's the reason why I got into university. 17, I produced a fashion show, 22 models, 10 days. Our choreographer dropped out. I stepped in with 2 of my friends. We went in, produced a fashion show. And honestly speaking, it's like working day and night. There was no Facebook, Instagram, DM me. No, call every single one by one, flip phone. Yo, Yasmin, are you available for this thing? We're doing it in Wembley, yeah? You coming, yeah? Safe, man. Cheers. You know, it was like, please come, mate. You know, like, it was one of those things. And then And this was 10 rooms, which is Cafe Royal. If you know Cafe Royal, the
Yeah,
venue, they had a nightclub. It had a nightclub called 10 Rooms.
yeah.
So my mum took 10 rooms as the whole nightclub. This was part of Asiana thing.
Yeah.
I've done it. I worked with Asiana exhibition with them, but not as
Yeah.
my brand. But for my mum's brand, I helped her.
Yeah.
And because I was a choreographer, I remember one day she was like, "Yeah, we got 2 weeks into it." She's booked it. She goes, "I've taken the biggest room," and because she was also obviously at the height of her career, she wanted to do something. She goes, "We're going to do this art installation, fashion show. I'm going to take the whole nightclub to my space." Okay, cool, whatever. She's got choreographer and everything. 10 days into it, she goes, "The choreographer has dropped out because it's been double booked." I'm like, "So what are you going to do?" So this is me, 17-year-old, saying, "Mom, you know what I was thinking? Let me produce it." She looked at me thinking, "Beta, chill, yaar." You know, I'm like, "No."
Really?
Called two of my friends, Gavi, Erica. We're like, "Guys, we got this thing," because we were so hungry to do things, right? We're like so hungry to do things. I'm like, "Come home." They came home. We basically structured the whole thing, and a day by day worked, choreographed, and we did this really tricky thing. I said, instead of we trying to micromanage everything, let's pre-produce the whole show. 1 hour, count all the steps. We measured the catwalk step. We went to the measured it, replicated it in the garden, and we counted the steps. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, right till the end, how many steps it takes. So how long does the track needs to be? Chopped, edited, pre-planned it, got the models ready on the day. All we did was press play, and we had a show designer who did the lighting and stuff. And he's someone who's experienced. He does London Fashion Week. He was scared because he saw these kids are doing it. He came up to me and goes, "You have no idea what you've done. You've produced a professional class show." And I was like, "No, I haven't." But I know you have. That's what really, you know, that relationship I built at age 17 was paying me off 5 years later when I was launching my label.
Yeah.
So it's a relationship building process. So, yeah, so I have done exhibitions like the Bride Lux, and I've done New York Fashion Week. I've done loads of other things like off-schedule stuff, but it's been consciously decided how I want to place myself.
Yeah.
I am not want to be everywhere. I want to be where I feel my brand should be.
I
So
get it.
I have to decide, and it makes it difficult, but that's what it is. Yeah.
All right. Ah, my God. I feel like this has been such a good conversation. Seriously. We've gone
It's
over
like hanging
time.
out. We're just hanging out,
We're
like
just hanging out on like Instagram.
we're just
Like,
hanging
we
out.
put it on conversation.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly. Oh my God, I have so many questions for your dance career now. But let's just quickly go and talk about your dance journey. Obviously, we mentioned Company 68. We talked about Snatched. I want to discuss quickly this wonderful piece that you did.
Oh,
You
yeah. Oh my
performed,
God.
that you
Yes.
performed at Breaking Convention, and
Yeah.
you performed at Olivier Awards. I quickly 2 minutes. Let's just do this. Talk to me about BDC in New York when you did their 3-month to 7-month program, and how Molecules came to be. You've done the 201 Dance Company production as well, which I think last time I spoke to you about as well, which I watched, and it was
Smother,
really
yeah.
yeah, it was really beautiful. But
Yeah.
yeah, talk to me about dance and its importance and like your journey, Molecules of a Dream. How was
Uh,
that process as well in Breaking Convention? Because that's what, like 8 weeks. How many weeks is it that you spend with these artists and create this work?
so Breaking Convention, wow, that was like a dream because I grew up. I part of me has grown up going to Breaking Convention and
I
seeing
love
John Cena
Breaking
just do his
Convention.
thing.
Oh,
Just like it's like me and my friends, we just sit and drew like one day we'd want to be there, one day I want to be there. Like it was written in my head, I want to be there.
yeah.
And that dedication just came with. So I always wanted to. It was like a bucket list. I always wanted to go to a dance school. Period. At some point in my life, even if it was for 1 week, मेरे को बंद कर दो बस पे बैठा के यहाँ पर एक scholarship ला दो कहीं पे. Like I
Yeah.
really wanted to just be there. But BDC was something 4 years in the making. Years I
Yeah.
sat and thought about it. Oh, look at that! I was so much more less in weight that I could jump that high.
Oh, really?
Like, yay! So 4 years in the making. Every day, every year, I would sit down and look at the form and like I'll fill it in, and fill it in, and then I came to a point where I really needed a sabbatical from my work. I had reached a point of exertion, and I felt like, and this is when the Vitiligo thing was happening as well.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I can't. I need a lifestyle change. I need a complete change and reboot. So I was going through a Batman reboot then, and decided
Well, you
that
Christian Bale?
Yeah, I didn't do a Toby, so that's really good. I didn't do a spider. I didn't do a spider sense. So yeah, but
No, it's
I,
fine.
oh, that's amazing. I wish we could. I wish you saved this and send it to me, please.
No, this
So
is gonna be saved. I'll save it on IGTV.
so I'm gonna quickly tell you like how just to jump straight into BDC was like I finally decided I'm gonna do it. It was like
Yeah.
5 weeks before I did it. I sent my application the day of the deadline because I was so nervous because I was
Yeah.
like, how am I gonna stop working? How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna not be part of a family business? Like I can't, even though I want to. So I'm going through this whole I can't do this kind of phase. And I did it, and 2 days later I got it. I said, you've been accepted, and please follow the application process and the visa process for coming to America and everything. So I needed the M1 visa and all that because obviously I was going there as a student. I kid you not, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go to a dance school. I was like, I always wanted to be in a dance school and I want to go, man. I was like, this is my Shah Rukh moment, man. I'm going to come out as ripped to going. You know, it's like I came in the black Benz, I left with the white one. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So my journey was very, very testing because I would prepare everything and I had no formal experience. I had pieces of work. Come to New York, go in, and I'm like, wow, walking through the hallway of all these teachers like Michelle Petronelli, like you know, and there's so many like Galen Hooks, and all these guys are like masters, like Bonnie and Brinda Gua, like these are guys are faculty members at that time, and you know, it's just as amazing to see all these beautiful souls who are like I felt like I was in a movie. BDC was basically exactly what I needed at that time, living in New York all myself, going for dancing 24 hours, 14 lessons a week, 2 of them ballet. The first time I did ballet, I was known as the pigeon because I would never jump and land in the same spot ever. And I had a strict Russian teacher. He had a Rolex. He was in his 60s.
God.
He was like, you pigeon, jump for me. No. And you know, like it was like, you know, this brown dude trying to do ballet just wasn't happening. All these things that you see on Netflix was like part of the making at that time. It was just like we were like part of the making. So, but it was this explosive, educational, transformational, spiritual, what we call it, building block of me becoming a more of a formal dancer, of a formally trained choreographer, thinking exactly how I did think and create. And so I was meant to be there for 3 months. I decided to be there for 10 because I was like, I'm going to finish this whole course.
Bloody hell.
Every 3 months we did a showcase. We choreographed. So I did my first one, which my first choreography was New York to New Delhi. Yeah. It was my first choreographic piece. Then I did what we call dance spots, where we did these scientific experiments of dancers in a lab becoming these robots. Dance spots, so cliche, whatever it is. So you know, I threw in some Imran Khan in it, and I threw in some jazz in it, and threw some just a mash of things. Basically, what it was, and it was very new at that time, 2013. Yeah. And then came Molecules of a Dream was conceptualized there because it was the winter around this time. It was my grandfather's birthday, like it was his death anniversary, and I was really sort of alone, and I was thinking about him, and I think I want to choreograph something that represents him. Yeah. And I wanted to choreograph something that inspires his values and stuff. And Molecules of Dream was just a dream. Dream. It was just all about exploring the idea of a dream. And dreams are built of different molecules that you remember and moments you remember. And it was this whole facade of what is ideal version of you as a gene of your grandfather. What would it be like as a dance format? And that's what it was. I tried to replicate looking at and that's where the mustache came from. It came because of Molecules of Dream. I had exactly 3.5 months before I had to submit this. I grew my mustache to become the character.
Wait, you grew from this to this.
Yeah, that's Kyle Hanagami. Yeah. Wow, like dude. And I grew, that's what I became. By the time I left New York, this is what it was because I became the character. I so believed in it so much and choreographed. And the biggest challenge was choreographing to Bohemian Rhapsody. Of all songs was Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, how am I going to pull this off? Because how can you dance to this musical orchestra piece of a legendary artist, you know, like how can you do it like in a Queen?
Oh my God, it's so good. My favorite bit is like the revolving door situation that you do when it's like,
yeah.
That is like my favorite bit that you do. And then
and then all of a sudden it drops into, you know, Jay-Z, like goes from the Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake, but it was more of this style. Basically the way to do it is choreography and style. So I was doing this stylometry, basically what it was. I coined this thing called stylometry. That's what I was doing. So that basically became a process, and I performed, and I didn't realize I was going to win an award. I won an outstanding choreography award for producing this piece. Then I decided to take this forward, and then I just applied to, and I was in India when I applied for the auditions for application for breaking convention. And I just put it in, and then like a week later, I got this letter, and I just screamed. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I called my friend. I called Erica, and I'm like, Erica, breaking convention, and she's like, "Oh, like," I said, "No." And like, it happened, man. I'm like, "No, breaking convention. Book your ticket." She's like, "No way." I was like, "Your childhood dream has come true." I'm like, "You're gonna be performing at breaking convention." I'm like, "Yes." And I went to the audition. I remember like John Z just asking me questions. He goes, "Can we tweak a little bit?" Because it was a 7 minute. They wanted to squeeze it down to 4.5. So they squeezed it down because I extended it, and they just wanted to keep it to this true form. And then they were just enamored by my presence, like how you explained it. They just felt this aura, and just like, this guy needs to be there, and they didn't want to compromise it. And next thing I know, is like the same year the Twins was performing at breaking convention. So I see a poster of me in tubes in underground of my name next to the Twins, like headlining like Sunday show, like Saran Kohli and co. And then this, and I'm like, oh my God, breaking convention, Sadler's Wells. And I'm like, and what made me so proud is that I don't know if I was one of the first Asians, but it's definitely like I put my culture on the stage. I wore that turban. I wanted to be represented, and I really did that. And I felt so proud, because when I was off stage and I was in the crowd and I was talking, everyone's congratulating me. I saw a little Sikh kid who had brought his dad, and like they were sore and they wanted to be seeing what this was about. I felt that I did something. That's all I wanted to do. I had an effect on an audience, and I had that. And it was the most amazing experience to be able to perform on a beautiful stage of Sadler's Wells and come out of that and have this applause. And it was just like, you know what? I would do this again. If they didn't want to pay me, I was fine. I'll give my blood and sweat for this. And that's the love of dance. I knew that I reached the point where I'm like, yeah, ab to main mar jaun na kafi hai. Like,
and then you did Olivia
if I die tomorrow.
I'm sorry. Then you did Olivia Awards,
Yeah.
which is a whole magnitude of things. And I saw you. I was back. I was like, we just came off and we finished performing, and I went into the audience and I saw you perform, and I was just like, wow. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, Olivia was like, yeah, I mean, that was an experience. I never felt that we could be represented all that way. Like, we would have the opportunity to be pushed to that platform. And John Z had put a PR person, especially for me, to say, we need to get you pushed forward. Like, he believed in it more than I would see it. He saw the potential. And I have so much respect for him. A lot of people may not agree with what he does, but I feel that he has taken hip-hop dance to the point of the highest extreme they could have done and sustained it for so long. It's not easy for anyone to be in that position.
No, agreed.
So yeah, that's basically, it was an amazing experience to be part of Olivia Awards and do that. It was just like, wow, like, yeah. I don't know, like, pinch myself. You said I pinched moments on myself, but I haven't reached the point where like, but yeah, it was a beautiful experience of able to be a choreographer and be able to represent our heritage and our culture to the point where it merges so well with mainstream. That was the best I put forward.
I think that brings me to my next point, which I think we're just going to brush up on, which is like, I think digital fame and all of these things are great that, you know, we are now outsourcing for becoming like Instagram influencers and things like that, but actual impact of such as yourself and the work that you've done, like breaking convention and Olivia Awards, till this day, all of these platforms need to happen, because I think like I haven't seen anything like that since. There's been great acts and there's cultural diversity, and like, you know, in the Globe Theatre there was a whole Asian production of like Romeo and Juliet, and you know, there's great companies, but I think like those things need to happen, and I think to that sort of sphere nothing's happened.
Yes, it's like things like Merchants of Bollywood has taken place to that, but I think we have so much more to offer, but I think we're in a much better position where theatre has become we as an audience, like I would say South Asian audience are taking theatre much more seriously now. That we're
Yeah.
taking conscious decision to go watch theatre much more than we ever did before. Apart from just sticking to Bollywood, there's so many alternatives. I just feel like we have alternative streams of so many things.
Channels,
You
yeah.
know, channels like there's comedy nights now, and there's dance nights now. There's like improv nights. I feel like we as a generation are also merging into different formats, and we're encouraged to explore those formats. But we yet to see a whole new movement of dance being represented. But then I always feel that we as a community have always more to offer. I feel that we're not tapped because we have a lot of rabbits in the hats that we can pick out. Like,
Agreed.
There's no end. It's not just Bollywood. It's not just. We are good bacteria. We grow. That's how I see it. We're just good bacteria, bro. We're good brown bacteria that will just grow.
Okay, wait, that's second. One was vitiligo, is the antidote and bacteria stuff. No, brownism is great.
We're that yogurt that we want to put in every dish. Why do you think Indian people why do you think we put yogurt in everything? We put yogurt in every, like, rajma chawal, yogurt. Meat chawal, yogurt. Parotha, yogurt. Because we're that good bacteria that needs to go. We're that
people are that good bacteria. There's a lot of taglines that have happened in this. I'm gonna take that away. I think you should come out with a t-shirt line. I'm not gonna lie to that. That high end, low end.
All right, when I have that ready, you'll be the first. You're gonna be the first one to wear it.
I would love nothing more than that. I am waiting to come to the shop still. All right, we're going to get on to playing a quick little game, and then unfortunately we'll have to say bye. So this is the point in the show that was meant to happen an hour ago, but we're going to play a game called Sip a Chai or Play with Rai, where I'm going to ask you questions and get you to do things, and if you want to do and answer them, you just, nastily as it sounds, you play with Rai or you sip your chai. All right.
Okay.
You are creating a new collection, okay? You're going to name it, and you're going to explain the campaign to me, okay? I'm going to give you a bunch of names, and you can only pick one of them to feature in this entire campaign, okay? Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Remember, you're answering with creating a collection, what you're going to call it, so you need to tell me what the name of it is going to be and explain the campaign to me, okay? Go. I'm going to give you the names. Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, James Brown, Les Twins, Prabhu Deva, Robbie Downey Jr., The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, David Gandhi, or Shahid Kapoor. You can only have one.
Michael Jackson.
Okay, what would the collection be called?
Shimon.
And explain the campaign and some of the clothing to me.
It's gonna be bling. It's gonna be floaty. It's gonna moonwalk you left, right, and center because those trousers are gonna be stretchy.
Yeah.
And you can get to places quicker. But the best thing is, you get that job in that office. You turn around, do that spin, and go. Ta, ta, ta. I got it. So
what's gonna be the campaign? Describe the campaign to me.
The campaign is gonna be brown bacteria moonwalking through the streams of. It's gonna be a world campaign of moonwalking together. So we a global diversity based thing that we're gonna moonwalk from one. So I can imagine the Instagram feed going from like one screen to moonwalk.
Yeah.
It becomes the other one going there. It becomes on that. It becomes a full circle, and it's like every moonwalk will be in an outfit inspired by the collection.
That would be nice, actually. That would be really nice. And then you can have our installation in like central London. You know how there's that dandy woman with like a stick figure who's just like walking. I don't know where it is in central London. There is somewhere you could have one of those, and then that could be like a moonwalk situation. There you go.
Or it could be it could be a thriller.
It could be there you go. 5 things you cannot leave the house without.
My phone, my wallet. 5 things. Okay, that's 2 things.
Come on.
My headphones.
Yes. Two more.
My favorite pair of jeans.
Okay.
And my house keys because I've been locked outside many times.
5 staples a guy should always have in their grooming business situation or wardrobe. Go.
A perfect navy blue suit, a perfect watch, and not just expensive, but something that's an investment, a tie, a pocket square, and the most well-made, handcrafted pair of shoes ever.
Made by Saran Kohli.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
That was 5.
and all of the
You only
no,
get 5.
all the above are made by me except the
Yeah.
watch.
You could, yeah, hey, you never know. You could be a
Yeah.
watchmaker soon. Don't
Oh,
sell yourself
Gabbana.
short.
Hey, Angola, shout out.
I'm gonna give you some trends, okay? If you think they are good trends, you're gonna say Koji. Get it? Kohli, Koji.
Okay.
If they're not, sorry, bad joke, dad joke. If they're not, you say Ko not. Got it?
What? Okay. Cool. So come again. Koji. Okay, Koji.
If it's a good
That was
trend,
me.
you say Koji. If it's a
Okay.
bad trend, you say Ko not.
Okay.
Like not a good start. Okay, baggy
Okay.
clothes. Like such
Co-
as that's Snoop Dogg,
Koji.
by the way, on top. Koji. All right.
Koji. Koji.
Skinny jeans.
Koji.
Do you remember back in the day, the Asian guys who were wearing contact lenses?
Yes, with Moschino's fitted trousers.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. But then if you explain it to that way, then it's Kona.
Okay, cool. Gelled hair, flat ironed, spiky, and everything.
Kona.
Kono, man, you just dissed Jay Sean. That's your homeboy. Bell-bottom trousers.
Koji.
Lungi or dhoti, whatever you call them.
I haven't a lungi because when I went to Kerala, I wore lungi just to fit in. So lungi all the way.
So Koji.
Koji.
Okay. Suit with trainers, aka Justin Timberlake. If you diss him, you're dissing Justin Timberlake.
No, Koji.
Koji.
Because as a dancer, you know how to rock that thing.
Damn. I used to love it when in his show he used to do shots. That was the best thing ever. Favorite movie?
In terms of Hollywood, Bollywood.
Any. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, all time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Favorite movie of all time.
Come on.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Your favorite movie of all time is Jesus Christ?
No, it's not. I would have said Rockstar after that. It has to, my favorite movie of all time is Godfather.
Godfather. Favorite dialogue from The Godfather? 1, 2, 3.
You know what? No. That's it, because everyone dies at the end after that. Everyone's bloody gone. It's like in the melodramatic movie. Everyone's mar gaya sare.
Favorite song?
Pehla Nasha.
Oh, nice. Favorite food?
Indian, because I get it for free.
Not cuisine. Not cuisine. Favorite food dish?
Dish.
Yeah.
I love dosa.
Dosa. Masala dosa.
Any dosa.
Any dosa. Favorite place to go on vacation?
Oh man!
Quickly, this is rapid fire. This is rapid fire.
Could I say 1 or 2 in the area? Hong Kong, Singapore.
Singapore. Netflix and chill,
Hong Kong, Singapore.
or dancing in the night away at the club?
Oh, I really would love to dance away in the club right now.
I feel like you're a very Netflix and chill person. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like
No,
you're
I am. I have my phases. I fall asleep to Netflix because I have to watch something to fall asleep. I can't just go. I have to watch something, and suddenly whole season at episode 9 in the morning.
Wow. Suit or a onesie?
Suit.
Boots, smart shoes, or trainers and Vans?
Trainers.
Oh, okay. Biggest fashion
I wear
faux
more
pas.
trainers than yeah.
Wow. Biggest fashion faux pas that you have ever committed?
I have.
Oh, wait, I
I
had a
used to
picture of
wear-
you. I can't. Oh my God, you had this baggy jeans situation. Is it this?
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
I
used to
was
wear
just
those
going to-
scarves.
Yes, that's it. Those Middle Eastern inspired scarves with I used to wear baggy jeans, have a dog tag, and name belts. Name belts.
Good time.
Name belts. I used to have a hip hop name belts.
What was your hip hop name belt called?
Snatch.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, this is the activity round. Are you ready? You're on a Saran Kohli runway. Make sure you are in a space where you can. I'm gonna take my air. Now you're gonna be able to hear some music.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put some music on, and you're gonna walk down the runway to the new Saran Kohli collection. But you are going to be these people that I name you to be. Okay?
Oh, so I'm actually standing up?
Yeah, you're walking down the runway. Okay?
Oh wow, you know I'm like half work from home vibe, right? Okay.
Well, hopefully you're wearing. What's your favorite song of all time? What was it again?
Ballad show.
I don't think that's a very like.
Yeah, this is not a catwalk song.
Give me a catwalk song.
By the way, shout out to Preeti, who's been throwing a lot of hearts to you and me. So she's gonna really dig me in after doing this.
Wait, I don't know why I put Pehla Nisha on. Wait, hold on. Oh, I know.
Oh,
Are you right? All right, you're walking down the runway as Michael Jackson in the new Saran Kohli collection. All right. Now you're walking down the runway as Frank Sinatra. Now you're walking down the runway as James Brown.
you can't see James Brown because you can't see my leg. There you go.
Now you're walking down the runway as Late Twins. Alright. Now you're walking down this Saran Kohli collection as Prabhu Deva. Now you're walking down the runway as Robert Downey Jr. Oh, okay. Alright. Okay. Now you're walking down the runway as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now you're walking
what the Rock is
Now you're walking down the runway as David Gandhi.
Oh. It's always like this. Like hands up.
Now you're walking down the runway as Shahid Kapoor.
It's like always like this.
He does, doesn't he? Alright. Well done. Alright, the next section is called Dance But Make It Fashion. Okay, you're going to be dancing, and I'm going to throw different... You have the option. Either I can throw signature moves your way, or dance styles your way, and you're going to dance them, but make it fashion. Should we go with styles? I feel like you're a master of all trade, though.
Bloody hell, you really are making me work. Okay, go ahead. What is it? Throw it.
Alright, I'm going to play the song again. You have to dance, but make it fashion. Okay, remember that.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Make it fashion. Yeah, I'm off stage.
Are you going to do it all sitting down?
Oh no, so I can't change clothes, can I? It'd be a bit winky, so...
Okay. Dance,
go on, what am I supposed to do?
Dance, but make it fashion. Dance, but make it fashion, okay? Are you ready?
Okay. Alright, let's do this.
Okay. Dance, jazz, but make it fashion. Jazz, but make it fashion. Jazz, but make it fashion. Okay, now you're dancing hip-hop. Make it fashion. Make it fashion. I'm sorry, what's this? Alright.
It's only because I can't really space-wise, so I'm like doing Snoop Dogg and I'm like selfie.
Dance ballet, but make it fashion. Dance hall, but make it fashion.
Dance hall, mate.
Go on. Go on. Oh. All right. Contemporary, but make it fashion. Salsa, but make it fashion.
Huh?
Salsa, but make it fashion.
Salsa.
Yes. Bollywood, but make it fashion. Irish, but make it fashion. Waltz, but make it fashion.
Huh?
Waltz.
Oh, waltz. Oh, damn, haven't done waltz.
Waltz, 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 man, waltz. Break dance for Let It Go. You have to go on the floor now.
1 second, I'm gonna try
Okay,
this.
don't worry, don't worry, don't worry.
Wait, I'm doing it.
Are you gonna? Yeah, we can't see you
I
though.
did swimming. I did swimming. I did a worm. I came up and down as a worm.
Cutting, but make it fashion.
Touching.
Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Bhangra, but make it fashion. All right. Lastly, this is the test because you're a very good trained Indian dancer. Kathak. You're a very good Kathak dancer. I didn't know this. I really didn't know that you're a Kathak dancer.
No, that's my sister,
No,
not
that's
me.
you, man. I read it everywhere. All right. Kathak, but make it fashion. Know this? All right, that is it. That is it. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Also, that solo that you have done to Ganesh Hedge, if anybody hasn't watched it on YouTube, I thoroughly want people to go online and watch that, because that is...
I have to say, this has been my favorite live ever, because I've never actually done a workout session and a chat and chai all in one.
Thank you so
like
much.
a whole experience. You're giving me three-dimensional vibes, bro.
Oh, I cover it. Oh, thank you so much. We're at the end now, finally. Can't believe it's literally been like a gup shop.
It has actually been. I've enjoyed it. I've
gotten
the opportunity to just dance and chill.
I've gotten the opportunity to have some takeaway slogans.
Thank you, Girish. Magic Gyro, man, he's amazing.
Thank you to everybody who's been here for such a long time.
Yeah, thank you to everyone that's been here. Reka,
it's the longest live. It is the longest live.
It is the longest live. Someone had to
Instagram.
break the world record.
I think
Instagram. We broke the record.
We could go to 4 hours, but let's not. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to discuss upcoming projects. What are your upcoming projects? Obviously, other than this wonderful vitiligo mask that you've got going on. But yes, upcoming projects.
Upcoming projects is my online store is going to be launched in December. So that's going to have some pieces that be going live. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. And we'll be releasing something vitiligo related early next year, which I'm sort of almost in the midst of getting it started.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing. And yeah, that's the two immediate things that I'm actually doing at the moment. So let's see like how it all gets formulated. But those are two most immediate things. And yes, dance-wise, if something happens, I would love to. But I think my next thing would be working with Raimu on the Vitiligo documentary.
I would love that. I literally would love that. I really did enjoy your conversation on vitiligo, and I literally, like I said, I felt your passion, and I would love to do something for it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of a young Saranji, and I found this picture on your profile, and I found it really beautiful, and we're gonna discuss.
Oh my God!
I think you look so handsome there. Not
That's
saying you don't look handsome now, but just saying. I do this thing which is called peaks and valleys, and looking at that young man over there in our picture, what have been some of the peaks and valleys in your life? And a peak is a lowest point, a high point in your life that has taught you a valuable lesson, and what has it been? A valley is a down point of your life, and what lesson that it has taught you. So go ahead, go.
My peak would be my whole journey to New York studying dance. It's taught me resilience. It taught me resilience. It's taught me that no matter what's thrown at you, you can always rise above any obstacle. And it taught me a lot of lessons. And I made one of the most amazing friends ever, because I made true friends who actually were there to help you and support you. So I am very, very grateful for having a lot of people in my life from that time, and probably the most beautiful memories I've ever made.
And a valley?
Oh, there's been a few, but I think my lowest time was the most difficult time for me was when I lost my best friend and my grandfather in the space of 10 days.
Sure.
That was the most difficult. My best friend from university, Dara and my grandfather, and that was my most difficult time. This is when I decided to be in India. So that was what I learned from that, is that you need to value and appreciate and clap for every person that you have in your life, because you
Yeah.
just never know. You never know. So appreciate what you have. Today you have everything, tomorrow you'll have nothing. But one thing you'll definitely have is good-hearted relationships that will pull you through. So we all matter in that sense, to be add value in a relationship and be
Yeah.
grateful. Be grateful.
No, great. Any message you would give to good old Saran back there?
Change your hairstyle, mate. That ain't going good. That is, what is
Wow.
that? Gel. That is complete gelled out massive. That is the days of gelled out hair, and
Wow.
you just had to have that wet dripping look
Do you
and
like
stuff.
this one?
So
Oh no, I can't get. Well,
no, I'm glad that one is not. I'm glad that I love my chest there. It's perfect. 36. That is
I think your
perfect.
chest
So.
in here is pretty magnificent in that
Woo!
one.
Yeah,
Look at
that's it.
that. Look at that.
I I would love myself there, because my body was at its peak then. Six packs, everything. I was ripped. I was on a nutrition. I had a nutritionist for my
Oh
diet.
really?
I came out as Superman when I went there. I was like
Yeah.
Milka Singh, mate.
Hey, you are still very handsome. You're still very great, so don't worry about
Thank
any
you.
of that. All right. Lasting words. Any lasting words that you have? Anything to say?
I think I've definitely found a solution to racism to some extent. So that's one. So I'm definitely going to be the vaccine. Lasting words is that I feel, Raimu, you are in an amazing human. You
Oh,
are absolutely a light bulb in all the dark places, because you actually bring a lot of people together. You always have a positiveness, and I honestly, this is an honest thing, that the time we've spent very small amounts of time, and it's
yeah.
been on job. We've spent more times on jobs, but I remember when we did the Levi's, no, sorry, Lee Cooper.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it was just an amazing time to spend, because I feel you really are a soulful person, and you really spread this aura. So I'm really grateful for that we've crossed paths, and I hope that we actually get to collaborate on something, and
Likewise.
offline. I know we've collaborated on live and we've broken
Yeah.
the record for this, but I think offline it'd be really nice to, and for everyone who took their precious time out,
Yeah.
who's been watching us and just stuck with this. If someone's been there from the beginning, honestly, like, I really appreciate your time, because time is the most important currency at the moment,
Yeah.
and you've spent it very wisely on us. So I really appreciate it. There's no refunds for this. We can't go back. I can't redo everything I
No,
did.
there's nothing.
So yeah, so thank you for that. This is a good value for money. You've got entertainment for free, and you didn't have to sign up for it.
Yeah, there you go. No, thank you so
Yeah,
much. And likewise, I think the world of you, and I think you have a beautiful story and an amazing journey ahead of you. And I am very grateful for the connections that I've made and for meeting you. And like I said, I think when I saw you performing at the Olivia Awards and just representing and just being the person that you are, it really is a privilege to know you. And I look forward to
thank
working
you.
with you in the future in whatever capacity it is. To be given the touch of success by you, the success that you've had and the story that you've had, it's really inspirational. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
I just want to end on a fun note. What sort of chai are you drinking? What sort of chai are you?
I make an amazing chai. I actually make lovely chocolate chai, by the way. So that's definitely
Whoa.
what I make. Yeah. But I make my chai as humble as possible, with ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, elaichi, and a little bit of, now and then in the winter I put a little bit of nutmeg here and there. But
God.
yeah, that's spiced up. Yeah. When it's chocolate chai with whipped cream, honey drizzle, and crumbs of Oreos, or just lovely biscuit on top.
I would like to have this jar when I come over to the shop. And
100%,
I've said this a
100%.
couple of times before. I would love to come to the shop, play with Gubba, just have a little gup.
Ba-
I've lost you, Saranji. Hello, hello, hello. Jaluzi.
Pehla nasha. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of the Thursday. You've been so kind in spending your time with me. I cannot thank you enough. Have a great rest of the week, guys.
No,
I'll be
thank
back
you.
next Thursday. I'm going to be saving this live. It's going to be on IGTV. I'll share it on my page. This 12-hour IG live. But really,
It's world
thank you
record, yeah.
yeah, thank you to everybody that joined, like Saran said, and thank you, Saran, seriously, so much. And have
No,
a great
thank
rest
you
of your
so
night.
much, and you too have a lovely evening, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person. And please give my regards to everyone in your home and stay
Likewise.
safe.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Bye, Saran.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
dude.